Hello, beautiful people. We are here for our Horror Saturdays. We are here with KillerCon, having killer conversation with some amazing horror content creators. And today we are talking about the 80s horror era. And y'all know I could be an 80s hater, but we're going to really dig into the 80s on this one. And maybe I'll give the 80s its just due, or maybe I'll just stand where I always stand, okay? We have some amazing panelists here with us, so let's not waste any time in getting everyone out. But also wanted to remind everyone, if you were here for last week's episode, we are now doing a viewer's choice segment, which will be at the very end. So I will give you guys more information on that if you weren't here last week. So let's go ahead and bring out my girl that's going to always champion two things: nudity and the 80s era horror. Y'all give it up for my girl, Tyra from Struggle Reviews TV. You ready to talk 80s?
I am. Like, what you mean? I think, have you watched anything on the list that I sent you yet? Because I'm low-key trying to convert you. It don't have to be your favorite. I just want you to put a little respect on the 80s, just a little bit.
Look, you know what? I might give the 80s its due. Now, look, I don't disrespect that. Well, I do disrespect the 80s, but I do got a little respect for what the 80s have done, okay? So we're going to get into all things 80 and bringing out my next guest, who we see each other when it comes to the 80s era of horror. And you know what? I really wanted to center this episode on 80s because I like to always challenge certain things. And in the horror community, it is very much, oh, you're not a horror fan if you don't like XYZ. And one thing people always say is, oh, you're not a real fan if you don't like 80s horror, or everyone loves to say the 80s is the best era. So I am so happy to always confer with somebody who isn't scared to go against those norms, to say, nah, that one ain't for me. Y'all, we got Gigi from Room for Scream. Are you ready to talk 80s?
I am so ready for this, and I'm so glad that you said that, because I feel shunned sometimes where I have to be like, oh, you loved that one? Oh, not for me. And it feels, you feel outcasted sometimes because I just have so many 80s hot takes, but I am glad that we see eye to eye on this. I'm ready for this.
And I am so excited to hear your hot takes, because I feel like I'm the only person I ever hear really saying, yeah, that one, yeah, no. So I'm ready to hear what you got to say. But last and definitely not least, we had him on here before, and we had so much fun with him. We had to bring him back, and not just bring him back, but bring him back for the 80s, because he might be up there with Tyra. You know, they might not be on the same level, but I know he gonna appreciate what the 80s had to offer. Y'all, we have one half of our life in horror, Brandon. Are you ready to talk 80s and nudity and topless women?
Absolutely, of course. I'm always ready to talk about it.
Put that on there. I cannot stand. Everybody just associates the 80s with nudity and topless women. It's more stuff there, I promise.
There's nudity and topless women.
Yeah, that's it.
You're gonna see bloody titties. That's what the 80s is gonna be.
And if that's the draw, then that's the draw.
There is a movie in particular. Let me just jump ahead real quick. There's a movie in particular called Pieces. I swear to God, every single woman dies topless and naked in that movie. Every single one. Like, that was the 80s.
Hey, don't be telling people my list. Topless Pieces is here. Okay, I love Pieces.
But like I said, we do have our viewers choice segment at the very end. We are streaming on multiple platforms, so I'm so thankful for our audience that are watching wherever you are watching from. And we get into a lot of topics here, and y'all know sometimes we can be here for 2 hours. I remember one time we was here for almost 4 hours, and a lot of people complain that I don't get to their comments. So we cover a lot of stuff. I absolutely appreciate everyone who comments, stays active in the chat, but we have implemented the viewer's choice segment. So if you have a particular verses that you would like for the panel to do, or a particular horror question you would like for us to answer, let's cut to my commercial break. Okay, a night of horror commercial break. Stay tuned.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
at all those
And-
80s movies.
And just a reminder, whatever platform you are watching on, please make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to our amazing panelists. And to remind everyone out there, let this stick in your brain. To support or die.
Take your best shot.
Y'all know I love that so much. But let's go ahead and get right into it with the 80s. And one thing I normally do is send the panelists the questions and everything. But I saved this one because I did this especially for my girl Tyra, because I want to know what the hell was wrong with 80s horror. And you know, I always sit here talking about the 80s, but I got to give y'all a little visualization. Okay, I need y'all to know where I'm coming from when I talk about the 80s. Okay, so let's get into a movie in particular that everyone loves from the 80s.
Just go. Just please go. Please go. No! No! Get away! Get away from me, please! Ah! No! No! Get away! Get away from me, please! Ah!
Jesus.
Tyra, what's wrong with your era? Now, y'all, the thing that I cannot with the 80s, I swear to God, nobody could act in the 80s. That you
Exactly.
cannot tell me that.
Pat agrees.
And just for reference, that is from a movie from the 80s called The Burning, where these kids do this psychotic prank. And I literally cut the movie off after this scene. And I think it's maybe 20 minutes into the movie. I literally spend most of my time watching 80s horror thinking, am I supposed to be taking this seriously? Like, is this, I mean, it is literally the worst acting in the world. Tyra, what was wrong with the 80s? Like, what the hell is going on?
Nothing. What are you talking about? Like, you cannot bring this one little clip from The Burning per se. Even though The Burning is up there for some folks, it's not one of my favorites. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I love the fact that we have cheesy, the low budget, like, for every 10 movies where somebody didn't know how to act and they just literally pulled somebody off the street to make a horror movie, there's one that is brilliantly underrated and they happened to pull somebody off the street who knew what they were doing and could act and were capable. Like, with the 80s, just like I feel like we're having this big horror renaissance now where we're getting so much of it in abundance. We got so much of it in the 80s. So to get to the really good stuff, you have to cipher through the bad stuff. And sometimes you're going to get situations like the clip you just saw there. There is nothing wrong with 80s horror at all.
And I feel like it's so funny you say that because y'all know y'all be talking about me when I be pulling up random horror movies that y'all say y'all ain't never heard of. But I dig through the crates for horror, but not when it comes to 80s. When it comes to 80s, I specifically look at the movies that people always praise. And The Burning is one. That's not one of Tyra's, but The Burning is one of those 80s movies that people always praise. But also when I think about the 80s and the movies in that era, it's just it feels to me like just carnage, not really scary. There is one, Don't Go Into the House, which Tyra said is blasphemy because it's a Psycho ripoff. I actually kind of like Don't Go Into the House. But the acting is so bad. It's just that 80s cheesiness that just does not work for me. And even when we get into like Pieces, and it's a Sam Raimi movie in the 80s where they're like trapped in this grocery store. It's just so hammy and cheesed up. And even when I get into the Italian horror of the 80s, the Italians was doing the same cheesy stuff that
They
America
were
was doing.
No,
Okay, I did not know that Pieces took place in a grocery store though, because I was just joking the other day and I was like, I'm gonna write a horror movie that takes place in a grocery store. I was like, I can't think of any, but I was wrong.
Well, no, Pieces is about these college girls getting killed. The one in the grocery store with Sam Raimi, I can't think of the name because it's such a generic name that doesn't even fit the movie, so I always forget it. But yes, they're trapped in the grocery store with a serial killer trying to get out, and it's terrible.
It's
But shout out to Sam
Intruder.
Raimi.
Oh, Intruder.
Yeah,
Intruder. Thank you. There we go. See, we can always count on Brandon.
That is a very generic name. They gotta come on.
And it has nothing to do
liked
with the grocery
Intruder.
store.
I liked Intruder.
Yeah, you're the one who told me to watch
I
it. Tyler.
did. I thought she might like it. I don't know.
Gigi, what the hell
Yeah.
was wrong with 80s horror?
Okay, I totally agree. I think it's the acting. The acting can be bad. And I agree with Tyra, though. There are some that it's like standout performances. I just feel like the 80s had more of like this theatrical, like, kind of like they were putting on a play. Like that's what the acting feels like. But honestly, my biggest thing, because sometimes I'm just like, okay, this is how they acted in the 80s, just like a different form. But for me, it's the pacing. Like some of these movies, we got like 15-minute long scenes where I'm like, what is this happening? Like, we did not need this. And it's almost like just a slog to get through. It's kind of boring at times. And then you're like, okay, like now we're getting into like the scary parts, but the pacing is what kills me a lot of the times.
Yeah, I agree. Brandon?
I agree with Tyra. I don't think there's anything wrong with the 80s, like other than like they were being produced and made so fast that there was
Yeah.
such an over consumption of horror movies coming out because they were cheap to make. They were filled with gore, which always looked good. And they were like I said, they were very cheap, quick to put together, and people would go see it. So everyone would make money, so they kept producing more and more and more. I guess I could see the acting sometimes, of course, but you got some great standouts in there from all films. Like
Ooh,
even
I'm just
I,
kidding.
I love overacting in some movies from characters. I think that's funny. I think there's a certain charm of the 80s, and I can understand not a lot of people seeing that. I'm getting my wife into shout out Sam. Hi, thanks for watching. I showed it because I'm getting her into 80s movies, and like every once in a while she's like, oh, this movie kind of drags, it sucks. I get it, but it's something that you got to almost grow up on, or you got to learn to appreciate the charm of it. You got great actors in the 80s, like Jamie Lee Curtis came out of the 80s. Tom Atkins, Bruce Campbell, lots of people. I don't really have a
And
gripe
if
with
y'all
the 80s.
can't tell, this is going to be the panel for today. We got our two panelists that's going to champion the 80s, and then we got our two panelists that's, well, y'all know I'm the host, so I'm going to just stay a little neutral, And I say neutral.
You don't get to stay neutral. You do not.
But I love conversations like this, and honestly, it's hard for me to even say my favorite era of horror. I'm in the belief that I think horror has just gotten better and better with time. I love 90s era horror. I do feel like the 90s had a hard time figuring out its identity. Pre-Scream and then post-Scream, I felt like everybody was trying to be Scream. I absolutely love and adore early 2000s horror. 2010s. What as the decades get on, they don't roll off your tongue. Like just saying 70s, 80s, 2010s. What do we call the tens? That don't sound right. But y'all know. That era, 2010s. I think horror has only gotten better and better. And I think everything, of course, is personal taste. And like, I won't give any spoilers because it's a new movie, but I literally just saw Oddity yesterday. And I just feel like you cannot tell me that horror has not evolved and just gotten better with time. And I think for someone like me, I'm a little morbid. Like I don't like any type of like really comedy in my horror. I like stuff to be a really dark atmosphere. And I feel like the 80s wasn't really doing that. It was really campy. And I can't be scared if I'm laughing at you. Like that just, that doesn't work.
So no killer clowns from outer space for you. No, that.
Now y'all know I do have my gems, and we'll get into those. But I guess Tyra, if we had to say your favorite era of horror, it would be the 80s, right?
Yes, ma'am, it would be.
And Gigi, what is your favorite era of horror?
Definitely early 2000s. Like I love 90s like you, but I feel like early 2000s, that's where my like love skyrocketed. And it makes sense. Like it's like, yeah, my parents let me watch some 80s horror, but it was like early 2000s is when I was like, ooh, I can like sneak this horror movie on TV or something. Cause I was like, grown enough, but that's where my love is.
Brandon, what's your favorite era of horror?
This is kind of hard. I'm gonna go with a tie between probably the 80s and the 2010s. I would say.
2010s does have some
We
of my
need a new word for the
favorite.
like.
I know.
It's a
Yeah.
mouthful.
Yeah, the 10s. That sounds dumb.
And then I don't want to say the tens. That sounds like a gang. I don't know what
Yeah.
that is. But of course, when we get into the 80s, of course, we have those mainstays that everyone talks about when it comes to the 80s, whether that's Chucky, whether that's Night on Elm Street. No, Night on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street. But you do have underrated movies when it comes to the 80s. And y'all know I always love to get into the movies that not everyone talks about. And as much as I talk about the 80s, I do enjoy 80s horror. I grew up on 80s, 90s horror. I grew up on 80s to the point that some movies I thought was the 90s just because I saw them as a kid, but they were actually from the 80s and I didn't know until I grew up. Maybe I was slow. But when it comes to underrated gems of the 80s, I do have a few that I feel like people don't really talk about. And one that I love that completely goes against like my taste is an Italian horror movie called Demons. It's so campy. It's so over the top. It is such a gore fest, but I am obsessed with that movie. It is such a good watch. And I never hear anyone talk about it. Like people talk about Night of the Demons, which I'm not a fan of. Night of the Creeps, but no one ever talks about Demons, and it's such a gem. I love Pumpkinhead. That was one of my favorite childhood horror movies. That's from the 80s. Again, you do have some campiness, a lot of campiness in Pumpkinhead, but I love it. The Blob remake from the 80s. I don't really hear a lot of people talk about that one. And one that I actually only saw recently, and if I remember correctly, I saw it because of Tyra, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I hear a lot of people always talk about
Oh,
the
yeah.
original. I like the original. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? Now that one, that
Good
was
time.
my, oh
And
my
it's
God.
some campiness there.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Okay. Give it
It
a moment. Let it cook.
But it was so good. Now Tyra, I know you're gonna come through with some underrated movies of the 80s. What you got, girl?
Oh, let me smack my paper here. I feel like I need to make a list. So I didn't want us to all mention the same things. I do love Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I feel like it is very, very underrated and nobody talks about it. Slumber Party Massacre. Both of them are really, really good, but I do prefer Slumber Party Massacre 2 because those are two of the horrors, because I know everybody just associates 80s as bloody and titties. No, we actually have full-fledged, fleshed out female characters. They're dying, but you care about them. The Changeling. I don't think a whole lot of people talk about the Changeling. I think it really subverts the themes of the haunted house trope, and I think it's really original, and I revisit that one often. I don't hear anybody talk about it. Night of the Creeps and Night of the Comet. I love Night of the Comet. Good stuff. Good stuff. Go run those up, please, please, please. Anything with the H.P. Lovecraft on it. Anything that's from Reanimator, From Beyond, all of that spooky, ooky, gruesome, colorful nastiness. Love that. Terror Train. I love the Terror Trains, the curtains, Stage Fright. We have all of these slashers with these really unique masks, and they only got one installment, but it's really original and they're really, really good. Go watch Terror Train and Stage Fright if you don't watch anything else. Possession is like the OG. I put Possession over there with the Exorcist film as far as the possession genre that just really got me hooked to go like, okay, this is really scary. And everything kind of after that really pales in comparison. Chronos is really, really good. If you have not seen Chronos, I don't want to give anything away, but it's a really great film. The Hidden, really great alien type of situation. Society, if you like movies like Slither, well, I know you know campiness, or just
I like Slither.
yeah, so some of those things you would really, really enjoy. Society, and probably The Serpent in the Rainbow. But I think I got you to watch what you said you watched Chopping Mall.
I like Chopping
Mall. I like Chopping Mall. I like Death Spy. I like Street Trash. It's a plethora, but I don't want to hold up anytime. Happy Birthday to Me. It's a lot of stuff there. Go watch.
Yes, Tara had her amazing birthday live Thursday, and I'm your elder, so you need to listen to me, Tyra, when I be telling you. But you mentioned a lot of the movies you mentioned I do really like I'm not the biggest, I get a lot of crap because I'm not much of a fan for Halloween, but I love Season of the Witch. I think Halloween
Yeah.
3 is so good. And what was the other one you said that I love? The Changeling. I really like The Changeling as well. So it is and I feel like one day I gotta really, you know what? I always do my tier list ranking. One day I need to just tier list like the top 20 movies in each decade, because maybe I do have a lot of 80s that I like. It's just that campiness, it takes me out.
And Near Dark, go watch Near Dark, because everybody always watches The Lost Boys, which is really good, but also
Oh
watch.
yeah, Near Dark is on my watch list. I definitely do love Season of the Witch though. Like it gives off that like, Halloweeny autumnal vibe that I think is missing in Halloween. Like yeah, the Halloween takes place like during like fall, but it's like with a name like that and then it doesn't even feel like that Halloweeny. That does kind of suck. But I have a hot take, and Tyra's not going to like this because with my whole heart I hate the movie Possession. Like I tried so hard to watch it, like or like it, and I was like, every minute I was like, this feels like nails on a chalkboard to me. And I love Sam Neill so much, and like their performances were really, really good in it, but it was like 90% screaming, and I also just didn't get what was going on, and I was like, not for me.
That's fine, GG.
You're not alone. I've tried to see Possession. I think I make it maybe 20 minutes in each time, and I've never quite finished it. I do want to finish it because I can't think of the young lady name, but she said she was traumatized filming
Yeah.
that movie. So I would like to, sludge through it one day. But do you have any underrated movies of the 80s that you like, Gigi?
No, just kidding. I do like one movie that I did that I really liked. Well, okay, I really do love Fright Night. I think Fright Night that is so, even though it's like campy, I really, really love Fright Night, and I do love Season of the Witch. But I don't feel like Blood Rage gets enough attention because it's a Thanksgiving slasher and we don't have a lot of Thanksgiving horror. And I love that it went like with such a, not a random holiday, it's not random, but I feel like Thanksgiving was such an easy holiday to make a horror movie, and not a lot of people have done it. I mean, except for the newest one that was just like whatever. But yeah, I think Blood Rage is good. And it has some boobies.
I'll take that, GG.
Good.
You got that. Nobody ever talks about Blood Rage.
There you go.
Now, see, I got one to add to my list because I've never seen Blood Rage or heard of it, so I'm definitely going to check that out. Brandon.
I mean, I don't even know if I have a list after Tyra. Damn.
Sorry.
You named them all. Let's see. I do have a couple here. Like, let's get into one particular of a franchise, which I think Friday the 13th Part 6 is so underrated. It's such a blast. It's hilarious. It's like a horror comedy before like real horror comedies. It's just a complete satire on itself. Maniac Cop, I think, is a fantastic kind of like a crime slasher. I think it's great. Bruce Campbell's in it, so is Tom Atkins. George A. Romero's Day of the Dead, which is the least talked about his trilogy, and I would say, in my personal opinion, it's probably the second best in his trilogy. Amazing special effects in there. Sam threw in the comments, and I totally agree with this. I don't know how I didn't remember this, but Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers is...
I like the name.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
It is so much fun. It's not great, but it is so much fun. The lead private eye has this inner monologue going on in his head, and everything that he says is just a one-liner, and it is hilarious. You brought up Reanimator. I'm gonna bring up My Buddy Valentine, a Canadian slasher. I think that that movie shows like real young characters just having a fun time, and then you get I can't even remember his name. What is the Henry guy? The coal miner.
Yeah.
I'm a little sick, so I'm very foggy, but I'm trying my best. But yeah, I think there's a lot of underrated ones that I haven't even gotten to. Like Blood Rage, I haven't seen. I'm trying my best to keep up with watching new stuff as well as trying to keep up with the old stuff. But There's a lot of them out there, a lot of underrated 80s movies.
Okay, I'm really proud of myself that I brought up Blood Rage and a lot of people haven't seen it. So
Yeah, I've never even heard of it. But I will add, I saw someone in the chat mention the Prowler from the 80s.
Yes.
And so coincidental, I literally just watched the Prowler for the very first time, like an hour before we went live.
on.
Because one of Tyra's subs had mentioned it in her post about KillerCon today. And I will say, I gave that 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I think the Prowler is pretty good. It got some things, some few deaths that I thought was a little campy with how the acting was. But the Prowler is actually pretty good, and I actually really like the villain look of the Prowler. I think that works. Yeah, the Prowler is. Yeah, that's. I don't never hear anyone talk about that one.
You didn't see it on my thumbnail? Yeah, go check it out.
oh. I like the cover.
Yes,
it's actually, and it's actually good.
It's one of those ones that us 80s lovers, we really wish that one got more installments, and we just got the one.
Yeah, I don't know why that one didn't get sequels and stuff. I don't know.
That's
especially
a great name.
With that villain.
80s, I gotta say, 80s horror has like the best names though. They will take the cake on that.
Now, of course, when we get into the gems of the 80s, and as much as you might love the 80s, Tyra and Brandon, every era is going to have those movies that are just so hyped that you just don't see it. I got a lot of those in every era, but some of the 80s most overrated, I don't even really want to get into mine. I'm gonna let everybody else go first, okay? Because I always got to take a lot of shame on this panel. So Brandon, what are some of the most overrated movies of the 80s?
So I like to say Halloween 2, I think, is totally overrated. I know. Most Halloween movies, in my opinion, are completely overrated. Overrated.
Brandon. We see each other.
Yeah, overrated franchise just in general. This is like an underrated, but I watched it and I think it's totally overrated. It's gotten way too much attention, I think, is Basket Case.
Oh.
I just don't see the appeal. I actually like its sequels better than I like the first one, which is odd, but it's true. And Blood Diner, I think, like, what was that movie? And why did I have to sit through that hour and 20 minutes or hour and a half? I thought that was totally overrated. That's it. I actually don't have too many on here.
Tyra, do you have any overrated movies of the 80s?
Oh, child, the Halloween movies were here. Outside of the first Halloween, and the ones with little Danielle, I could leave, in Season of the Witch, of course. I could leave the rest. Anything that has the Children of the Corn on it's terrible. I have a special disdain for those films. I don't like them. I'm not like in love with the Friday the 13th franchise. You know, I'm not.
Okay, that's for you.
Weak. I mean, it's cool, but it's not. You know, I think it's overrated. I could say that I do prefer when Jason, donned the hockey mask on down. That's where I am. The ones, I mean, with the bag sack over the head, or the first one where it's the mom, not my favorite. I would rather watch the terrible Manhattan one, which is crazy. And like the last little hot take, and Brandon can clutch his pearls over there all he wants. I am not in love with the Evil Dead franchise. I never have been.
Oh,
it's cool.
Wow,
it's cool. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it's overhyped and overrated. Personally, it's cool.
I think this panel's over for me. Bye, guys.
Like, I gotta go.
I was really not expecting that from. I'm so shocked. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Wow. I need to get my bearings.
What is going on? What's the hate on for Evil Dead 2?
No, it's no hate. I think it's overhyped, Brandon. Like, I think they're decent films. And if I had to pick one, I do prefer the more recent Evil Dead, films that we've got, especially the early one from I think it's 2013. I like that one. It's I think it's a great medium. But yeah, Evil Dead is just cool to me. Where some people are really invested and feel like, oh, this is amazing, it's the best franchise I've ever seen. I'm not that person.
And you
Alright.
know what? Y'all said a few of mine. I was going to say the Friday the 13th I think Friday the 13th is one of the worst horror franchises in general. Like I don't get the appeal. I truly don't.
No, literally
Um
same.
yeah, I'm just like I just like, what do people see that I'm not seeing? And also Halloween. People go up for Halloween. And I honestly didn't like Halloween until, like I said, I saw I don't know when it came out, but I saw Season of the Witch when I was a kid, a little bit before H2O came out, and I saw H2O in theaters as a kid and I loved it. But I'm not big on that franchise. I'm not big on Halloween. Um Lord, okay, before anybody kills me, do not send me death threats. Okay, I think The Shining is overrated. It's a nice film, it's fine, but the way people go up for The Shining, I like Doctor Sleep way more than The Shining.
That's
I
fair.
think the
Doctor Sleep is a
Lost,
great movie.
How are you going to
yes,
compare this 40 years later?
I'm not the big, and then them, I don't want to go there, but them killing off Doc it just really
Yeah,
pissed me off.
they didn't have to go.
But also, I think the Lost Boys is overrated. Um,
Oh.
and it has been hard for me to come to this truth. I have said on this channel before, The Evil Dead was like the first horror movie I ever saw in my life. So it has sentimental value for me, but I don't care for Evil Dead 1 or 2 or Army of
I
Darkness.
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, yeah,
How
it gets,
could you?
especially, I feel like especially too, it gets a little too zany.
Yeah.
And I also get confused because I'm like, why did he come back to this cabin after what happened? Like, am I slow? I get confused. I'm just, yeah, it's close to my heart because it was my introduction into horror as a kid, but I don't know. I think it's
I'll let you have everything except for The Shining. I just can't let you have that. Okay, I'm just not.
I remember finally seeing The Shining and just being like, oh, so
And
this
the
is it?
Lost Boys, Nikki, you said Halloween H2O, but you said no to the Lost Boys. Okay.
I'd rather see H2O than Lost Boys. I'd rather see Slither than Lost Boys.
Well, Slither's a lot.
Movie. Slither's a good movie. Like, you gonna leave Kiefer
I was like,
Sutherland
well,
on
that's
the
actually good.
ground for
And I love Kiefer Sutherland. I love Kiefer Sutherland down. Love him down. But I feel like that movie would have worked better for me if the two vampire hunter guys weren't such a joke. Like, if they were on a more serious tone with those two characters, I could stomach that movie a lot better. But the way that they're these, like, kind of like the two guys in Insidious, which I don't care for them either. I don't know. That doesn't work for me.
For the film, this was supposed to be a children's movie that they hyped up to be. This was supposed to be
I'm not a child. It ain't work.
They turned it, into a horror, but it was first written to be, like Monster Squad or Goonies or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm not fans of those either.
You're like, yeah, it sucked. Okay.
But I would like to know what 80s horror villain or monster would be the worst to be killed by. I personally feel like the worst for me, at first I was going to say it was the xenomorph, but I think the xenomorph is actually a pretty merciful death because they just stick that little thing out and stab you in the head and you kind of die instantly. I think the blob would be the worst 80s monster for me to die by. Like, it like melts your skin and digests you, and the guy was alive when the girl was trying to help him. Gigi, what 80s horror villain or monster do you think would be the worst to be killed by?
I would have to say, like, one, I think Chucky, but only because that would be like embarrassing, where you're like, oh, this tiny child doll killed me. But also maybe like The Thing, because then you're just bursting out in all your nasties. So, but probably Chucky. That's just sad.
You know what? I had someone in the chat just said Christine, because how can you not avoid a car? I want to revisit Christine. I tried to watch Christine, and if I'm not mixing up movies, Christine starts off with these high school boys, and I cannot get into the bros talk in the way the movie opens, and I never finished it. But when I was trying to find movie clips for my little commercial thingy, I came across a scene from Christine where the two guys get killed by the car, and I'm like, I need to see this movie. Like, it looks so good.
Is it when the man is backed into that small compact, and all he needed to do was jump on the car?
Tyra, he literally had so much time to just move the hell out the way. But it was also a scene where the car was like on fire, and the kid who looks like he was in Greece is like running from the car. Like, I was just like, what is Tyra?
I'm saying anything in an H.P. Lovecraft movie, and anything where there's a entity entering my body and it's inhabiting me. I'm conscious in there, but it's I don't need, just let me die. I don't need you to alienate my being and walk around as me and I'm just there. I don't need that. And then I die only when you transfer whatever's inside of you inside of another person. Don't want to do that. And then, like, in those reanimator universes, it's always like a slow, torturous death. And then they always are like really kind of campy and sexual at the same time. I don't want you doing no sexual stuff to me before you kill me. Just let me go out. I don't want you to do no gross antics. Like, I just see that from beyond thing just on me. So no, I don't do that.
Brandon, what is the worst 80s horror villain or monster to be killed by?
I think a Cenobite would probably be the worst ones. He's gonna take you away to his personal hell, and then he's not just gonna kill you once. He's gonna kill you over and over and over and over and over again until the end of time, basically. So that's what they do.
Oh, Brandon, I wouldn't mind that. If I could be like a sexy Cenobite, I could do that.
I don't think the Cenobite translations over for me would be so sexy. So.
Brandon would get those ugly ones that was in the third installment where they were like camera head and CD dish changers and crap. It was those.
Oh yeah, I'd be walking around like chatter teeth.
Oh.
That's the 80s one, Gigi. Do you like Hellraiser?
I've actually never seen the full Hellraiser. I've tried so many times, but I also like the plot doesn't really entice me. So I'm always like, okay, like this seems like interesting, which is funny though, because I have a Hellraiser shirt just because I like the quote on it. The I'm in hell, help me. Yeah, I know. I'm like one of those where it's like name five albums, and I'm like, I haven't even seen it. I just like the shirt.
Oh,
no, I do love Hellraiser. Hellraiser 1 and 2.
All careless, like, yeah, no, I'm not. I haven't seen it. Like, I love Hellraiser so much.
Me too. Hellraiser 1 and 2, but 1 is my favorite. I love it. But also just a reminder, we have our viewers' choice segment at the very end of our panel. So cut to the Night of Horror commercial break.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton? What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
And shout out to the 53 people in this live with us right now. Thank you so much for supporting us on this Saturday. Now, y'all know I had to get into a little fun topic for my girl Tyra, the best 80s topless scene. Because you know that look. I know Tyra don't like for me to just associate the 80s with tatas, but I do. And I would say, I gotta be that stick in the mud. I don't like the nudity, especially when it's like women dying nude, because I feel like you're kind of sexualizing violence against women. Yes, I know. But I will say, I'm not sure which Halloween it is, but there's a Halloween where Michael Myers takes this topless girl and puts her in like this acid that is like so ridiculous. And also there is a scene in The Prowler that I literally just saw, and
Yeah.
it's so bad. It looks like they were trying to like, I don't know what they were doing, but the girl dies topless in the shower, and it's her scream. Like, how can your screaming be bad acting? Like, her screaming was so off. Tyra, what were some of the best 80s topless scenes?
Okay, so let's gotta lean in. So where I don't really care for Friday the 13th as a whole, the Halloween franchise, especially early on, Friday the 13th franchise and Nightmare on Elm Street is where you always going to get your money shots. Those were the films where they had a big enough budget to where we weren't just pulling a random chick off the street and just like, hey, we want to see your boobs. No, they had to be like premium boobage for you to get in the shot. For you to get into a Nightmare on Elm Street situation, especially like Dream Child to entice, Joey to get in the waterbed situation, be in there, like you have to have like premium titties. So those three there. And anything that was Italian horror, like, it was going to be like, it was going to be like beautifully shot. It's going to be nude and real crass, but it was going to be gorgeous. And those are the places you go to get like really, you can get boobs anywhere in horror. Like they're going to be there. But they are strategically finding people, because if we're trying to entice whoever's there in the scene or the audience with the boobs, we're going to go search for, really great, well-measured topless situations. So yeah, we're going to go with those three franchises and anything that was at the time of an Italian horror, great boobs.
I love Tyra saying premium titties. Like, not just any old.
Because it's boobs anywhere. It's not like, big fake. They love, a big fake, silicone situation. I mean, like top tier real boobs.
Yeah, and I feel like the Italian, they be borderline feeling like adult films. Like, I don't know what be going on. Brandon, do you have any best 80s topless scenes?
I mean, are there any bad ones?
Yeah. No.
Being the only guy on here. I did write a couple down. So I think this is always my go-to whenever this kind of question pops up. But like in Friday the 13th, part 4, with Corey Feldman getting to see his first pair of boobs, even though he didn't actually get to see it, but his reaction seemed extremely genuine. I think it is a very funny scene. And then we got, for me and Sam actually just talked about this in the car, Return of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah,
Deanna Quigley doing her dance up on the graveyard.
Long scene, naked for no reason. Loved it.
Yeah. So I think if you haven't seen those, you should actually go check them out.
Yeah. Return of the Living Dead and Night of the Demons. Even though you don't care for it, that lipstick trick that she does when she's turned, classic stuff. Classic.
Ooh, now I do love Return of the Living Dead. That's my movie.
So do you skip through the dancing in the cemetery?
I don't know why she was naked in that cemetery, but
just
I just threw it.
She was full naked for no reason.
Gigi, are you a pervert like the rest of us and have any best 80s topless scenes?
Literally, I was telling you guys before we went live, I was like, I had to Google. I was like, 80s nude scenes. I was like, I don't just keep them up in my brain. Now, I love though when it happens in 80s movies. I think it's so fun. I don't have like an iconic scene, but I just watched An American Werewolf in London for the first time the other day. I know, for the first time. I'd never said. Well, I'm also. I did. I really loved it. And it's because I'm not big on 80s, but I'm also not big on werewolf horror. So I was like, I just kind of put that one off. But I really did enjoy it. But I loved the scene where they're in like the adult cinema. And it was just this random porno that was on where I was like, it was like a funny, like a comedy one. And I was like, what is even happening? Like, why is this scene even in here? They did not need this scene in here, but they were like, we got to throw in boobs somehow. And so they just did that. And I loved it.
So you didn't like The Howling or Silver Bullet or anything, like no werewolf, anything?
No, I haven't even seen them.
Oh, please watch.
Oh, I love The Howling.
I heard. See, okay, because one is with my thing, and I know we're going on the horror, but this is still 80s, is I feel like sometimes they're very like horror comedy, like, and so that's why I always like just disregard werewolf movies. But I heard The Howling is scary. Like it actually tries to be a horror movie. So I do want to watch that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, and it's not nostalgia because I first saw The Howling as a kid, but I actually rewatched it. I think earlier this year or last year. I think it holds up well. Dog Soldiers. I love werewolves.
Thank you.
Um,
Dog Soldiers is good too.
Yeah.
but you just made me think of what might be one of my hot takes. Everyone talks about American Werewolf in London. Now I don't know if this one is nostalgia, but I saw an American Werewolf in Paris at the theater with my mother when I was like 9, and I prefer that one over American
Oh, girl,
Werewolf.
please leave that on the ground where you found it. Next topic. No, please.
I love that movie.
Do not.
And I still remember seeing it in theaters. Yeah. You're really going to throw me away. But now we are going to get into our horror trivia, my favorite segment, because I love to just test everyone's horror knowledge. Gigi, the one who isn't really one for the 80s, I'm going to give you the 80s question.
Let's go.
In The Shining, what does Danny nickname his power? The Shining, Tony, or Jerome?
The Shining. Although that would have been hilarious if it was Jerome. I would love that.
That is incorrect. He
did?
calls it Tony. And
Does he
talks
really?
through his fin- Yeah, he talks through his finger.
Oh my god. I've seen The Shining so many times too. I just did not know that.
Tony. Jerome.
I wish it was Jerome though.
Jerome.
That's a way cooler name than Tony.
You know, I had to know something.
Just a little. It's Tony. Oh, man.
I also have the worst. I swear, I always say I'm convinced that I have like a brain tumor because I also have the worst memory when it comes to movies. No, like I'll watch a movie like yesterday, and they're like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "I don't remember, but I liked it."
I feel like if it's not memorable, it must not be good because I have terrible memory. But I will remember a movie I saw one time 30 years ago. Brandon, because I feel like this won't be too easy for Tyra. In The Changeling, after murdering their son, where does the father hide the remains? The river, his basement, or a well?
You know what? I have never seen this movie.
I haven't seen The Changeling either.
Yeah, it's on my watch list. But
good.
it's gonna be a stab in the dark. I'm gonna say the well.
Brandon, you got sorcery because that's correct. I swear the last time Brandon was on the panel, he said he never saw
You got
nothing and got
sorcery.
everything right.
Oh my gosh.
That is correct. He he put the remains in a well. But The Changeling is really good. I think it was one that Tyra mentioned in her underrated, if I remember correctly. The Changeling is actually pretty good. Like if you're one of those people who aren't really into like the haunted house, they do it in a really unique way. Like it works really, really well. But Brandon got sorcery. I don't know what kind of voodoo magic Brandon got going on because he always gets stuff right on movies he's never seen. Tyra.
Yes.
In Sleepaway Camp, what was Angela's real name?
You know,
Peter? Not
I didn't say that.
Ryan or Thomas?
I was gonna say you don't pick like the one. Like I cannot. I do not like this movie. I mean, I like it, but not enough to like. I watched it once.
This is another one people hype up that I really didn't care
it's
for.
not about the ones that people hype up. Y'all need to know that. B. Ryan.
It is Peter.
I knew it was Peter.
Didn't you go with that at first?
That's what I thought she blurted out.
Yeah.
But I did, and I was like, I think that's wrong. Maybe it's Ryan. I should have went with my first mind. I do not like Sleepaway Camp. I mean, I watched it because it is up there, and it's hard to watch it. Maybe if you watch it and you don't know the big reveal in the end, but it's always up there for that big reveal, so you already know what's coming. But I thought that was a really terrible movie.
And I'm glad when I tell you, I don't want to jinx myself, but I am the master at avoiding spoilers. I literally only just saw Sleepaway Camp for the first time a few weeks ago when I was getting ready to do my summer horror video. I hated the movie, did not know anything about it, but I love that last like 5 minutes when they give that big reveal, and that ending shot is so good. But I'm so glad I did not know that. I feel like if you know that, it pretty much.
I thought everybody knew that.
No,
I
I
never
literally
knew that
don't
in my
even know.
life.
I don't
Oh,
know the reveal. I've tried to watch Sleepaway Camp
everybody sees it.
so
Yeah, it's
many
bad.
times,
It's bad.
and every time I'm like, I
It's bad.
Just
hate
And
fast
it's
this.
forward
like
to the end, Gigi. Just
they're like,
fast forward to the
I
last
know.
10 minutes.
You're like, nothing else matters.
Gigi,
Yeah.
in The Fog, which family member does Jamie Lee Curtis act alongside? Her mother, her father, or her sister?
I have never seen The Fog, but I am gonna go with her father.
That is incorrect. Her mother.
Mhm.
Jamie Lee
Oh.
Curtis' mother was in Psycho. She's a famous actress.
Mhm. Right. Give
I
you
feel like I knew that her mom was an actress too, but I've never seen The Fog. I don't even know what the synopsis of The Fog is.
I saw the original and I saw the horrible 2000s remake.
Oh, yes, I did hear that the remake was god awful.
Tyra,
Mhm.
what is the only rule of caring for a gremlin that Billy does not break? Because we know he break the rules, but which is the only one he doesn't break?
All of them. I'm gonna go with A. No squeezing. Because he definitely fed them bad boys after midnight. That's how we got the gremlins. And then he put that little light on Gizmo. Had pissed me off with his little cute self. Don't do that.
It is C, no bright
It is
light.
not. It is not.
Well, that's what Google told me.
It is not. He put bright
Did you
lights on
fact check
it.
these?
I did. There's a
Should I
moment.
listen to Tyra or Google?
You gotta listen to me, okay?
Yeah.
He put bright lights on that thing. That's how he knew, like, oh, the rules are really serious. I can't be having, all these lights and stuff on little Gizmo. Now the outbreak happened because of the feeding, but we put lights on it.
Now I'm gonna give you a half point.
Thank you.
Brandon, which film's violence caused the MPAA to change its rating system? The Exorcist, The Thing, or Gremlins?
It's gotta be The Exorcist.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, but I'm not too sure. This is a pretty wild question. It definitely wasn't Gremlins. It's just maybe it wasn't the thing. We'll go with the A, The Exorcist.
It is Gremlins.
The Gremlins. Oh my god.
They
I
were
knew that one.
considered. It was considered too violent for a PG rating.
For children.
That's why they
Oh.
switched it to
They came up
PG
with
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a
Oh.
PG-13 rating.
I thought
Oh, okay,
thought
that
the
makes
in-
sense.
I thought the Indiana Jones movies made that happen.
Well,
Must
according
be-
to Google,
No, it sounds right.
What Google said,
damn.
you
I trust
don't
it.
put no bright lights on Gremlins. So I don't know what's for real now.
Gigi,
Yes.
who was originally set to direct the 1986 The Fly remake? Now I know you saw The Fly, Gigi. Come on, girl.
I did.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Was it Tim Burton, John Carpenter, or Ridley Scott?
Wait, who was originally set to the Fly remake?
Yes, from the 80s.
Okay. Yes, from the 80s. I've never seen the original The Fly. I feel like, oh my God. And I just read this when I was watching The Fly. I want to say Ridley Scott.
Tyra, do you know the answer?
B. John Carpenter.
It is A. Tim Burton.
Oh.
Oh,
He was
Who would let Tim Burton direct The Fly?
yeah, that's weird. That would be
And apparently
Not-
that was the whole thing. Like people were like very happy that he did not have his hands
As
on
they
the fly.
should be. That's not him.
yeah.
That would have
No.
been so we could see Johnny Depp trying to be a sexy fly. We're okay.
We're good.
Brandon, which actor in Aliens improvised most of their lines in the film? Bill Paxton, Carrie, which is the little girl that plays Newt, Paul Reiser, who is the guy from Terminator. Can't think of his name.
I'm gonna go with Bill Paxton.
That is correct. Bill
Mhm.
Paxton improvised the bulk of his lines in Aliens. I love Bill Paxton. I love him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Carrie Hen ain't had that many lines anyway. I feel like she could have improvised some.
Newt had,
Yeah.
had some lines.
a little bit.
It's so funny to me that Newt grew up to like be a school teacher. Like that is so insane to me. Tyra,
Yes.
What is Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite catchphrase of all of his films? Is it "Get to the chopper" from Predator, "I'll be back" Terminator, or "Hasta la vista, baby" from T2?
Well, my favorite is "Get to the chopper." That's my favorite. But as far as like,
What he likes?
yeah, I don't know. I think the most popular is "I'll be back," so I'm gonna go with that one.
I
Get
would
to
say
the
C.
chopper.
Oh, that's his favorite line.
Yes.
What?
You know what?
And I don't know if anyone has seen it. He actually has a new commercial. I don't know who. It's like Allstate or something. And he says to get to the chopper. I love that commercial so much because they keep trying to like get him to say. They keep saying no, it's not chopper, and he's like chopper, and he like
Oh,
keeps
yes.
saying it.
I
The
have never
I've
seen
seen
that.
this.
Oh man, man. I could have had one.
Should have went with what you like. Gigi,
Yes. Another
ele-
shiny.
the elevator blood scene in The Shining took a year to get right. During filming, how many takes did Kubrick film?
Oh, Gigi,
Oh.
3,
choose the highest one.
47,
Yeah.
over
I'm
100.
gonna go with over 100 because I know that Kubrick was like insane with his filming take. So I'm gonna go with C.
And see, I added this question specifically because I feel like The Shining is very famous. Like you said, like what he put like the lady through that's in that movie doing all those takes. And I knew everyone would go for C. That's the
It's-
number
oh.
I just made up. It's 3. He did
3
3. Yes, he did
That's
3
actually
takes.
shocking.
He did 3 takes, but it had Shelley Duvall doing 87.
Now we are going to get into my favorite segment.
I'm excited for
And
this.
we got a question from Dane C. Is Nikki not going to read my super chat? Yes, Dane C. I am. We appreciate the support, but I am saving all the super chats for the viewer's choice segment. Now normally when we do guess the bad review, I give you 2 movies, I read bad reviews, and you tell me which movie that review is for. But we're gonna do it a little different. Because I like to be playing with y'all mind and really messing y'all up. But I changed it up because I feel like it might be a little too hard for y'all when it's just 2. So I mean a little too easy when it's just 2 films.
No, it was
So
already hard. It was already hard.
we are going to take 4 films.
Oh God.
I am going to read a review and you are going to guess the film. Now, if you cannot guess it after 1 review, you can ask me for a second review of the same movie. But that's all you get. Do we understand the rules?
Yes. I'm gonna be so bad at this.
And since
You
Tyra
did
seems so enthused,
What? That was
I'm going to start with her.
okay.
We have No One Will Save You, Alien Romulus, which of course I will not have any spoilers because that's a new one. Why did I say Arnold Schwarzenegger? Because his name is right there. Terminator and Aliens. And you have to tell me which movie this review is for. Are you ready?
Sure.
I get the vibe, but this was so boring. Probably the worst film I have ever seen of its kind. No idea what that was or why it was made. It was an interesting premise, but it doesn't explain a lot. A plot full of frustrating plot holes and just dumb luck that in many places, it just looks ridiculous to watch.
Child, that better be No One Will Save You.
You are correct.
Okay.
Maybe you'll have more luck in this one than with the trivia. Gigi, are you ready to guess the movie based on the bad review?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, I like this one. Some great cinematography. It felt like an indie movie with a big budget that lost its way. The aliens were absolutely hilarious, and the girl was annoying as hell. I would rather watch a rerun of the Teletubbies on repeat for a week than sit through this again.
That's got to be Alien Romulus.
That is incorrect.
Oh God.
That is No One Will Save You.
Oh.
Brandon,
Let's go
are you
for it.
ready for your goal?
Brandon, stay ready.
They're
Yeah.
all just no one will save. Guess no one will save you, Brendan.
Took everything away that made the xenomorph such a menacing and unstoppable creature and turned it into just another monster that's easily killable. The first one had such a claustrophobic environment that made the creature movements and presence such a looming threat throughout the entire film, whereas here they're just easily identifiable and non-threatening.
Really?
Yeah, it's Aliens.
Right.
Which one?
Aliens.
Nope.
Oh, I knew it. I was like, it's
What?
gotta be.
It's Alien Romulus.
What
Yeah.
do you mean the first one?
Yeah.
Well, because it's supposed to be like an homage to like
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Ugh.
I get it
So
set
we're,
into
not, so we're just eliminating everything that came in between all those obscure alien movies. That's not fair. Okay.
Look, I didn't say these was critics who, knew what they was talking about. It's just people leaving their review. And I guess they wanted to compare it to the original child. I don't know.
You're like, I didn't write it.
But that is round 1. Now see, isn't this fun?
Oh Lord.
And now we have Evil Dead 2, Glorious, Evil Dead Rise, and When Evil Lurks. Are you ready, Gigi?
Yep.
This film has been overhyped as one of the best horror movies. I went into it expecting to be blown away and I was let down. Yes, this film has some crazy scenes that I enjoyed for how gory they were, but a good film cannot be dependent on shock value, and that's all this film was.
Oh, it's got to be When Evil Lurks.
You are correct. I thought you would
Oh.
think it was Evil One or Evil Dead.
No, got to be When Evil Lurks. But I love When Evil Lurks.
Brandon.
Yep.
It's so, and she has like 10 O's, or he, dark. The lighting, I can't even see anything. A movie can be scary without having to squint for 2 hours. No story, no tension, no horror to be found in this movie. Zero character building and a poor script with 1,000 loopholes. I guess she means plot holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen Glorious. That's the only one I haven't seen. I don't remember any of the other movies being too dark you couldn't see. I don't even know what Glorious is. Is that like where
No.
is that like the glory hole bathroom?
You
think-
know what? I couldn't really make it through Glorious. I saw it for like 10 minutes, and it does start in the bathroom, but it
Okay.
like he has
I've never
like
seen
such
it
a
either.
trippy movie.
Yeah, it looks kind of like cosmic trippy.
Yeah.
It's got that color out of space cover vibe.
Yeah.
As for an answer for this movie, I guess it kind of depends on which version of like the Evil Dead 2 they watch too, because that could be dark if you watched it on a VHS tape or something like that. God, this is hard.
That's why I love this game.
I think I'm gonna go. I'll go with Evil Dead 2.
That is incorrect. It is when the Evil Dead Rise.
I knew.
I don't know what was wrong with this person, because I saw that movie just fine, and I'm blind.
That movie's dark as hell. I'm sorry.
What? No,
Very dark.
I don't remember it being dark.
I don't either.
Yeah. I wonder if they saw it in like a theater. Because sometimes that happens.
She saw it on her TV, because I don't read the whole thing, because people can leave long reviews. But she said she turned the brightness up on her TV. And I'm like, baby, something just wrong with your TV, because
I saw it in theaters. I didn't think it was dark. If you want to watch a real dark film, go watch AVP Requiem, because
that's dark.
You can't see shit in that movie.
Yeah. Now that one is dark. And even like the whole movie isn't dark, but Predators, when the guy I love gets killed in the woods, you literally can't even see him die. It's like, wait, did he die?
Yeah, the whole sewer sequences, you can't see nothing either. It's wild.
But yeah, AVP is dark. Tyra. Just because it's gory doesn't make it good. Every horror fan says this is a good movie. I completely disagree. Awful, gross nonsense. Absolutely ridiculous.
Awful, gross nonsense. Everything here has gross nonsense.
Yeah.
Awful, gross nonsense and ridiculous. It's I don't know. Evil Dead 2?
You are correct.
Oh, good. Oh,
And remember, if you stump, you can ask for a second review. And now we have Poltergeist from the 80s, which I love, Insidious, Sinister, and Us. Gigi,
Yes.
this movie attacks your intelligence. They've managed to blend every possible horror cliche into one single film, which is no small feat, I must concede. Poorly written, awfully acted, and don't be mistaken, it's not the story that sometimes does scare the audience, but the sudden burst of sound blasting your brains away when a director wants to scare you.
oh, that's an easy one.
Oh yeah, that's got to be Insidious.
You know, I shouldn't have read that last line.
Yeah, that's got to be Insidious with the freaking violent.
Thing sound.
Yeah.
Tyra.
Yes.
Utterly disappointed at how bad this movie was as a horror movie and as a coherent story. 2 hours of tedious, incomprehensible rubbish. What the film is really about is stupid people such as idiot horror fans and certain moviegoers being duped into believing they are viewing some kind of classic.
Oh.
That could be anything here.
Yes, it could.
Sinister.
That is incorrect. It is Us.
I thought I got another chance.
Yeah.
You get a chance if you ask me to read another review, not if you blurt out your answer.
Fine. That was Us. Okay.
Yep.
Fine.
Brandon.
Let's do it.
It's a little creepy, but not very scary. The acting is pretty good, and there are some funny moments. The basic plot could have been a good and unique idea, but it was executed very poorly. I don't mind if a movie is far-fetched or unrealistic at all, but it needs to make sense. This movie makes absolutely no sense.
Is it Us?
No. It is. Oh wait, what is it? Let me go back to my. Oh, it is Us.
Oh, you got it right.
It's Us.
Nice. Okay, cool. I was like, the other ones, they make sense. Like,
You know what? We'll stay with this one. Gigi.
yes.
A typical byproduct from the scary movie genre. Its story is a collection of cliches from the Japanese horror wave of the past decade and the American remakes thereof. It is surely a sign of poor writing skills when a movie has characters sitting around explaining the plot for minutes on end, and this movie has a lot of that.
Is Sinister?
That is incorrect. It is Insidious.
Oh.
I don't really know what they were talking about with it.
Yeah, I'm like, huh? Because I like the Japanese remakes that I get more of that like from Sinister, not Insidious.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know where they were going with that. But shout out to the 60 people in this live. Thank you so much for being here with us for KillerCon. And as a reminder, we are going to cut through. No, we're not cutting through. We're cutting to a night of horror commercial break.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
Remember, we have our viewers' choice segment at the very end of the show where we address your horror verses, horror questions, and whatever platform you are watching us on. Please make sure you like the video, make sure you share the video, and subscribe to all of the amazing panelists. Support our
Please, please, I beg you,
when he tosses his legs, that takes me out. Now, I really don't care for Friday the 13th, but one thing they will give me are ridiculous kill scenes. And now we are going to get into our horror versus segment. And today, our horror versus will be jump scare versus jump scare. I love jump scares in horror movies. And I'll be honest, I even like bad jump scares. Like, I just really love a jump scare. I feel like I'm not the horror fan that's like super scared or easily scared. So I like jump scares, and that's why I say I even like the bad ones, because even if you just throw something at the screen or a jolt of loud noise, I like to get a reaction out of myself. And I will say though, my favorite recent jump scare is an Alien Romulus. I did not expect it, and it literally made me jump. But we have the Descent and versus the Ring. Of course, we have the scene in the Descent where the girls are trying to figure out what's going on, and the girl is yelling, "Is anybody?" doing her little thing, and we see on the VHS the crawler that pops up behind one of the girls, versus the scene in the Ring when the lady is talking about finding her daughter in the closet. Which jump scare was the best for you, Tyra?
The Descent. I always found the Ring to be it's kind of funny to me. Never it's cool. I'm gonna go with the Descent.
Brandon, what do you think is the best jump scare?
I agree with the Descent. I think it happens more naturally from like a storytelling standpoint. Like it's not just a quick cut and a loud noise like the Ring is. The Descent feels more like it's there for a reason. It's not just there to scare you. It's there because this is a creature that's now suddenly attacking these people.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
going Descent.
completely agree. Yeah, I agree. And I'm not a fan of the Ring. And I will never forget when the Ring came out. None of my friends were into horror. I was the only one. And everybody came running to me. You got to see the Ring. It's so scary. And I saw it and I was like, I'm not listening to normies ever again because this wasn't scary. Gigi, what do you think was the best or most effective jump scare?
Definitely The Descent. The Ring, I actually recently just rewatched both of these, The Descent and The Ring. The Descent is one of my favorite movies of all time. And then I rewatched The Ring not that long ago, and I was like, this is kind of bad. And like all the scares, I was like, this is not like what scared me when I was younger. But The Descent, it still holds up. It's creepy.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm just not one for America remakes. Like I feel like Pulse and The Grudge, all that stuff. I like the foreign versions better. We have the jump scare in Poltergeist, where the little kid has his little I think it's called a Jack in a Box, and the little thing jumps up. And then of course we have It, where the kids are watching the projector and it pops out of the screen. Brandon, what do you think was the best or most effective jump scare?
I'm going with It with Pennywise. It's a little choreographed that there is a scare coming, but you do not expect him to be like projector size Pennywise coming out of the screen, getting ready to chase these little kids. So it definitely threw me for a loop when I first saw that one.
Gigi?
Oh, I totally agree. That one was, I thought that was so good. And I love the 2017 It. I thought it's so good.
Tyra?
Poltergeist. I'm not. Let me. Because it does say 82. Me being biased, of course. I love. This is like one of the first jump scares that I was like, oh, that was really cool. I like this jump scare. It's just so much built up, and you can kind of relate to it as a kid. Especially in your room, and like you just feel like something's moving, a shadow, like a pile of clothes in the corner becomes a monster. Like you just make up stuff in your mind. But for this to really, really pop out, I think a lot of scare has been taken away from it due to the Scary Movie franchise and then reenacting the scene. But I still love it. So I'm gonna go with that one.
And you know what? I agree. I actually only just saw it for the first time. We did a watch along on my channel, and I love the movie. But I wasn't really feeling that scene. I don't like how I feel like in Poltergeist it looks a little more real. And I am not the type of person that's like, oh, the CGI looks. I really could care less. I'm just not that person. But I feel like it's just not so effective if it just kind of doesn't really look very real to me. And I feel like it coming out of the screen, it just looked really fake to my, unprofessional eye. We have Friday the 13th, a famous jump scare at the very end when old girl thinks she's safe. She done got away from the crazy old lady. And here come little Jason popping up out the water. And of course, the scene from The Exorcist 3, which is one of my favorite jump scares ever of all time. I think Brandon brought up in a previous Killer Con where we have the nurse walking through the hallway and we get that jump scare where they have her head chopped off. Tyra, what do you think is the best or most effective jump scare here?
Oh, that's hard. Because Friday the 13th, that's like the one thing they got right in that movie. And the kills are, some of the kills are really decent, but like the main thing they got right was that ending and why, we went on to have so many movies afterwards. But The Exorcist 3 is just such a standout and it's just so unexpected, especially if you've never seen it and it just happens. I just feel like, well, both of them are really effective, but I gotta go with the iconic Friday the 13th.
Oh, you're going with Friday the 13th?
I'm going with Friday the 13th. It's like it started. It's like it really put those jump scares into effect, and everybody followed suit. Like, okay, yeah, we need to have that pop out moment before or in between. Like, it just really, not that it invented the jump scare or anything, but after Friday the 13th, it was like, okay, yeah, everything moving forward, we're gonna have our moment in the film, whether the killer comes back or something like that. I gotta go.
Yeah,
with
I
that.
kind of feel like that Friday the 13th invent the ending jump scare, where the movie ends with the jump scare. I want to say that's the first time I can recall the ending closing jump scare.
I think it's Carrie.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Carrie did them first.
Yeah.
You're right. But I think this is a hard versus. Of course, if you're watching, put your picks in the comments. I love the way The Exorcist 3 is telegraphed. I love how you kind of don't know where the scare is going to come from. You don't kind of know where to look. But I think the Friday the 13th is also telegraphed well. Like, you're not expecting, he hasn't been in the movie. You're not even expecting him to pop up or anything. Gigi.
I love the Friday the 13th jump scare. I have also never seen Exorcist 3, which is surprising because The Exorcist is like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And I just never cared to watch the sequels of them. Because I know 2 is like trash and I know people love 3, so I really do want to watch 3. It's been on my watch list forever, but I love the Friday the 13th jump scare, even though I don't care for the franchise as a whole. That one it's just classic.
Brendan,
this is an incredibly hard choice.
It's not supposed to be easy, people.
I know, but like usually you can lean to one side more than the other, but the Friday the 13th one is so great because it lures you into this the self of security with the music and everything's super calm and she's just playing with the water and then bam, jump scare. And The Exorcist 3 is just literally just a picture watching something happen and then jump scare. I'll go with Friday the 13th as well, just because I like the music and how it lures you into a false sense of security, as where The Exorcist doesn't really have that score going for it.
Am I the only person going with Exorcist? And now we have Deep Blue Sea versus Child's Play, particularly, if I can talk, particularly the scene where the mom from Seventh Heaven is tired of her son saying Chucky doing stuff and she holding him in his hands, talking about he not real. And I think she's about to throw him into the fire. And all of a sudden, Chucky comes to life in her hands. And of course, we got we're not gonna fight anymore. We got Deep Blue Sea. Well, Samuel L. Jackson is standing in front of that damn water, and the shark jumps up and takes him out. And I gotta say, as much as I love Child's Play, the thing that sticks out for me is Deep Blue Sea. Because again, it's just that childhood going to the theaters with my mother, like that memories like that kind of stick. And I specifically remember like the way the audience jumped when Samuel got killed. And I feel like I like how they did it, because you do feel like, I remember leaning over to my mother and that's being like, why he in front of that water? Like something happened. But it's still, I feel like it's really good the way they do it. Brandon, which jump scare do you think is the best or most effective?
Deep Blue Sea all the way. I love it. You have this moment where you think Samuel L. Jackson is going to become this strong leader of this group and take them all to safety, and then he doesn't even finish his speech and he gets mowed down by a shark. I love it. It's fantastic.
And it was starting off to be a good speech.
Yeah, it was awesome. It got me pumped, and then bam, he's done.
Tyra.
Oh, please. It's Child's Play. It's Child's Play. This is iconic stuff. You're like, all right, talk. You talk, you little son of a... I'm going to throw you in the fire. Oh, you stupid fucking... Like, this is classic stuff. And then we transition into, but Andy, wait, no. I'm your friend. Like, this is your friend. Oh, I'm going to go with Child's Play.
Girl, you could do a whole one-woman stage play.
I know, seriously.
Gigi.
Even though I love the one in Child's Play, I have to go with Deep Blue Sea, because Sam, like when he's standing in front of it, you're like, oh, I know what's gonna happen. Like he shouldn't be standing there, but then like you just are anticipating, and then when it happens, it's just so like it is comical, but it does get you, and I love it.
And I feel like as much as you kind of feel like, okay, we can tell where it's going. At least for me, I'm like, sharks can't just jump clean out the water. Like,
yeah, because you're like, oh, like I know where this is going, but like, is it really gonna do that? Like, because
right.
Maybe it's not, and then it does, and you're like, oh shit, okay.
We have Insidious versus Seven, and we're going to get into our underrated jump scares, but I had to add Seven because I feel like y'all know how I feel about all the horror genre, like the genre semantics arguments, and I feel like there are certain movies that don't get talked about when it comes to jump scares. I think Seven had an iconic jump scare where we get to the sloth scene and we're coming in this room, we found the dead body, and all of a sudden he's not dead and he jumps up. That really got my heart racing when I like to this day. Like I love that scene. I think it's so good. And then of course the famous one in Insidious. And one thing I love is a movie that can give you scares in like the daytime. Like I kind of feel like it's kind of, I won't say easy, but when you already have like a creepy house or atmosphere or it's dark. But I love this scene in Insidious where it's daytime, we're having a conversation, and all of a sudden this jump comes behind the dad. Brandon.
I got to go with Seven on this. I don't really have a reason why. I just think it's awesome. Like you think he's dead. Like look at him. Like he's totally dead. And then when he just takes that deep breath and right as the guy's like right up to his face, it's horrifying.
Yeah. Tyra.
Seven. You couldn't tell me that emaciated man was alive. Like it's it's so cool. Like he looks, the way that they got him to look, and then they're like on his face, and he lets out it had to be the most funky breath that you ever want to. Oh my gosh! Like this is alive. It shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be, but it is. It was really really cool.
Gigi.
Definitely Seven. Like I love the jump scare in Insidious, especially because it's like they're coming from like the scary further wherever the hell they're doing in this, and then they switch back to the daylight scene, and so you're not expecting there to be like a scary moment because you're like, oh, we were just in the bad place and now we're in the good place, and then we see him. I love that. But Seven, it's like in Insidious you're expecting jump scares, and Seven you're not, and so when it happens you're like, holy shit.
And I will say, I kind of feel like Insidious hasn't aged so well for me. I hate that loud music in Insidious. Like it kills my ears.
It's jarring.
It is. Now we have Friday the 13th, and I just put Friday the 13th because I cannot remember which sequel this is from. It'd be hard putting these lives together and trying to think of this stuff. I was like, what movie was this? But it is Friday the 13th where the young lady Jason pops through. You know what I also thought about? There's a lot of jumping through windows in that franchise. Like a lot of people jump through windows in that franchise, whether they're diving out to their final girl trying to survive. And of course we have Sinister, where he's looking at the film and we have the jump scare where you see the lawnmower going across the grass and all of a sudden you see it going across the family. Gigi, which one is the best or most effective?
The Sinister lawnmower jump scare is probably hands down my favorite jump scare of all time in any horror movie. So I'm gonna go with that one. The way that my soul left my body when that happened. Oh hell no.
Brandon.
I don't know. I guess at like that point, have you gotten used to the end of the like it's Friday the 13th part 2. So you already know that there's a jump scare coming at some point. I'll go with Sinister as well. I think Scott Derrickson managed to create a really effective movie with a lot of jump scares, and somehow it's ranked the scariest movie of all time because of these jump scares that he's crafted into his movies.
And you know what? I don't like either one of these jump scares.
Really? I
remember, y'all already know how I feel about Friday the 13th, but I remember I love Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke is one of my favorite actors ever, and my cousin says he plays the same person in every movie. I don't care. Like, I love Ethan Hawke. And I remember everybody going up for Sinister. Sinister is one of those movies I literally had to rewatch before I even liked it. I hated it when I first saw it. I did not like it. On rewatch, I like it, but I'm not crazy about it. And all of the video footage, I hate it. Like, I hate how grainy it is. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan. Tyra?
Friday the 13th.
Because it's the 80s.
No, because I always thought Sinister was really laughable. I never got.
Oh, it's not just me.
I never got like I thought they had the most comically looking.
The demon.
Like, oh god, like what is?
Oh this? Yeah, he is. I forget what the hell his name is.
Whatever that is.
Bagul,
yeah, he is kind of comical.
That subtracts so much for me. I just can't take Sinister serious. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with Friday the 13th.
I'm so glad it's not just me. Like, I was sick of seeing him in that sweater. I was sick of seeing him looking at them grainy footage. Like, that movie. Now, I will say, like
change your outfit.
Over the years, like, it's one of those, like, I'm sorry, it's like a so bad it's good movie for me. Like, I don't care for it, but I can get some entertainment value out of it. But the way people go up and say, like, it's so scary and I'm just like, I don't get it. But I'm glad it's not just it. We have The Conjuring versus Signs. Of course, we have the clap scene in The Conjuring, and then we have the scene, Vamonos, children, Vamonos, where he's looking at the news footage and that alien steps out from the little greenery. Gigi.
The scene from The Conjuring, like, I think it's scary, but it didn't give me like the jump scare that I feel like it gave everybody else. But Signs, and I also watched that when I was a kid, so it's like ingrained in my memory. That scared the shit out of me. That was freaky as hell. So I have to go with that.
Brandon.
I'm also gonna go with Signs. I feel like The Conjuring's jump scare at that scene was also ruined in the trailer, if I believe correctly. And I think I love Signs. I don't know why. I haven't seen it in so long, but I remember enjoying it. I don't think it's the fingernails under the door was the jump scare that always seems to get me the most, the alien hand. But I love when the alien creature just walks out and you're after you rewatch it a couple times, you're like looking for him specifically in the bushes, which I loved.
And you know what? I was debating which jump scare to put, the alien hand you were talking about under the door. But I love Signs. Signs is one of my favorite M. Night movies. I am obsessed with it. I rewatch it all the time. But I feel like this one in particular really like got a physical reaction when I saw it. Like, I literally jumped. Like, I was like, because you know something's coming. You want the kids to move too. Like, you're trying to figure it out. And I love when it actually does pop out. And like you said, even on rewatch, when you're trying to see it because you know it's coming, I still feel like I can't see that thing. Is it my eyesight? Like, I can't really catch it. Tyra.
You know, I rarely enjoy anything Shamanama Ding Dong does. I'm gonna go with The Conjuring just because it's Shamalama Ding Dong. I just don't.
You can't even get with Signs.
Yeah. No, I told you I'll take Unbreakable, I'll take The Sixth Sense, and I'll take Split. Everything else can go by the wayside. Yeah, I'm gonna go with The Conjuring just because I'm not a Shamalama fan. Sorry.
If you don't Shyamalan, I can't what you saying anything like that. But I actually just saw Trapped. And I love that movie. I really enjoyed Trapped.
Meh.
I don't know if I'm the only person on the
I think
planet.
you're the only one.
Yeah. My
And I
wife
feel
loved
like
it
it
too.
didn't feel like an M. Night movie, and maybe that's why I liked it so much. But Josh Hartnett was amazing. Please put him in
He
more.
was. He was really enjoyable in it.
Yeah, I guess I'm the lone person that liked Trap. Of course, we have the Thing and Carrie, the ending jump scare on Carrie when she reaches her hand out of the grave, and the blood test jump scare in the Thing when we're trying to test everybody's blood to see who's the Thing. And I never thought it made sense that McCready would have the damn blood sitting in his hand as he tests it. Like, put it on the table. And of course, the little blood jumps out because we find out this person is in fact the Thing. Brandon.
I got to go with The Thing. I have actually never seen the original Carrie. I just
What?
watched the remake. I know. I have it sitting over there. I just haven't gotten to it. But I love The Thing, and I think that's a very good jump scare in The Thing. It's Palmer who turns out to be infected. It's just waiting, and finally it happens, and it's something you don't expect either, where it just completely jumps out of the
Mhm.
petri dish. So I'm going with The Thing.
I feel like I'm one of those people that hate when people are like, what's your favorite horror movie? I hate that question. I hate, like, there are so many. I can't pick one. But if I had to pick one, it might be The Thing. I feel like that movie is just so brilliant from top to bottom. It holds up so well. I feel like that movie is a masterclass on how to do suspense. Like, I just love every frame, every scene, everything. And I love Childs. Childs, everybody goes up for McCready. Childs is my absolute favorite.
Oh yeah.
I love Childs so much. Gigi.
The Thing. I also just think it's far superior to Carrie. I think Carrie's just okay to me, but I love that jump scare, and I agree. It's like a 5-star masterpiece of a movie, and it just got great suspense in that scene.
Tyra.
Carrie. I just got up tonight. I love Carrie as a whole, and just that false sense of security. In the end, you have that tranquil music; it's all calming. She's walking all slow in her little pristine virginal white dress, and then she puts those flowers there, and it's like then the music comes. It's like, oh, oh, oh. I love that. Now the Thing, I maybe would have picked The Thing if it was the when he's trying to revitalize the guy and then the whole chest opens up. But you know, my favorite scene in The Thing is that transformation scene with the dogs. So
yes,
yeah, I love that scene. But
that's
yeah,
traumatizing.
I gotta go with Carrie.
See, I would have got killed in the Thing because I would have been with the guy who was like, "Don't shoot the dogs, not the dogs." Like,
No,
I would have had to go up for the dogs.
Shoot the dog. Shoot a dog.
Like, I couldn't do it. I will say Carrie is one of those movies. I love Carrie. I think it's a great movie, but it's one of those movies I just don't rewatch because I hate the bully trope. I hate having, it's just so, like, at this point in time, every time there's a teenager or a kid, you know it's going to be a bully. And it irks me. I hate sitting through the bullying. So that's a movie I can't really rewatch, but it is a great movie.
All the Stephen King, you have to have a bully and it has to be in Maine.
We have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I said was one of my underrated horror movies from the 80s versus, now I couldn't remember if this was from Jaws 1 or 2, but it's when the guy is doing the deep sea underwater diving and he goes across this like sunken ship and the little head pops out all of a sudden. It's either Jaws 1 or 2. I can't remember which one. But what's that?
I think it's 1.
Okay, thank you. See, Jaws, it's the first one, guys. And then we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I think this whole sequence, this whole scene is so good, where the girl is at the radio station. She thinks she's by herself, and if I'm not mistaken, she starts hearing whispering or something, and she comes across Tara. What's this crazy man name?
Oh, Top Chop.
Top Shop. And she thinks it's just him, and they're in front of this doorway, and it's dark, and all of a sudden the chainsaw comes out of nowhere. I would say that both of these are really effective jump scares in my opinion. But I think they're two really, really good ones. Gigi.
I've never fully finished Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I've started it, but I do like the vibe that it gave. But I can't pick that one. But I love the one in Jaws. I do love that jump scare in Jaws.
Yeah, I thought that one was effective. I think they're both
Yeah.
really effective. But yeah, the Jaws one, I just wasn't expecting a whole head to
Yeah, especially because in Jaws, there's not really a lot of like jump scares. There's like tension. So you're like tense the whole time. And then so when a jump scare does happen, I think it's just more effective.
Am I the only person that prefers Jaws 2 over the first one?
I can leave both of them.
How do you not like Jaws?
I mean, it's decent. It's not my favorite. It's cool.
Because it wasn't nobody topless.
There should have been somebody topless. They were on the beach.
Okay, that is fair.
They were
That
on
is-
the
You get the
beach.
girl at the beginning; she's topless.
Yeah.
Oh, that okay, yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't think we saw nothing, did we? The girl who dives in that water.
It's very dark.
It's yeah. Like I don't think you actually see anything.
Brandon.
I'm gonna go with Jaws, and I haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 in a very long time. But I'm saying Jaws because I just watched this with Sam for the first time a few weeks ago for us to do an episode on, and she jumped at this part. A very
Yeah,
effective,
it gets
very
you.
effective jump scare.
And we are going to get into Final Destination versus Quiet Place. Of course, we have you can just drop dead. Bam, here comes the bus. Now, this actually is one of my least favorite jump scares. I don't know if it's because I always think was I the only person watching Felicity when I was a kid? But there's a scene in that TV show Felicity where her boyfriend gets hit by a bus. And Carrie Russell did some of the greatest acting in that scene. So the Final Destination, anytime I see somebody walk into the street, I just automatically think you're going to get hit by a car. But then we have A Quiet Place, that opening where everyone looks back. We see the little kid playing with his little toy, and then the monster comes in and snatches him up. Gigi.
That scene in A Quiet Place, I nearly shit my pants when that alien thing came out and like took that kid up. I love that scene so much. So I gotta go with that one.
Brandon.
I'm going with Final Destination because I don't really think that A Quiet Place intro is really a jump scare. You see the alien coming from a mile away. Like this show.
Yeah, like he's
shots of
running.
it. Yeah, you know what's happening.
Well, you might think he gonna save the little boy, and then when he gets snatched up, you jump.
No, fuck them kids. He was going down. As for Final Destination, that bus just came out of nowhere. You got a quick reflection of it a couple scenes before, and then bam, it just happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like anytime somebody is in the street, you're going to get hit. Like, period. Now, if the bus would have came up on the sidewalk, you would have had me.
Yeah, no, that's fair because like I totally see that too. Where I was like, okay, something's gonna happen because she's standing in the street. So
Right.
Yeah.
And then you say the line, you can just drop dead. Bam, she drops dead. Like, Tyra.
A Quiet Place, because kill those kids. Kill those kids. I love when we kill a kid. We killed a kid like first 2 minutes of the film. Like, you were a goner. You shouldn't have. Your parents didn't love you. They had you in the back. Kill that kid.
Oh my god.
Kill that kid.
Poor little baby had to go. Smile versus Amityville Horror. This is the scene in the Amityville early 2000s remake where the kid is in the bathroom. And then we have the Smile, which I hate this jump scare. Where the sister girl is sitting down in the car, her eyes closed. Her sister walks up to the car, knocks on the window, and when she looks, the little head comes over like that. Brandon.
I'm gonna go with Smile because even knowing it was ruined in the trailer. That was like the big piece in the trailer. That could have been effectively like the best jump scare of the year. And I haven't seen Amityville Horror 2005 in so long, but I think Smile takes it for me because that's just so unexpected. Like, how do you expect somebody's head to twist that way?
And see, guys, y'all know I always say I do not watch previews. I haven't watched the trailer in so long, like years. This is why. Like, if you see, like, I don't know what's with these trailers these days. They literally give you the whole movie, all the best stuff. And I just think it's always best to go in blind, because the first time I saw it was in the theaters. I didn't see the preview, but I didn't expect her head to twist, but I just felt like it was obvious something was about to happen. And I just don't care for Smile. Gigi.
I don't really care for Smile either, but I gotta say this one, although I do love Amityville Horror 2005. Like, I think it gets shit on a lot, but I love it. But the Smile one, that one, I wasn't really expecting that. So that one got me.
Tyra.
Smile, because I don't want to see anything that came out in 2005. That was like not a good year for horror from what I can remember. I'm gonna go with Smile, even though that was, at least it made me laugh. That was comedy.
And see, I disagree. I graduated high school in 2005, and I feel like that was a great year for horror.
Did The Descent come out in 2005? Yeah, that was a pretty good year.
And then we have Barbarian Jump Scare versus Barbarian Jump Scare. And I never understood the hype with Barbarian, because I feel like it was so cliched and did everything horror always does. Of course, you have the walking through the dark with the flickering light, like that happens in every horror. But we have the jump scare where the young lady is looking for the guy, and she's in say something or whatever she was saying, trying to find that kid, and he just comes out of the dark. And then we have where they dive, her and Mother dive off the roof, and you think Mother is dead, and Justin Long pops up, and then she ends up getting up and killing Justin Long. Gigi.
I like the first one. That one really, I loved it. I feel like it set the stage for the movie, but I absolutely hate the final one. I wish that they did not have like that whole segment at the end of the movie, but I love the first one.
Brandon.
I'm going to agree with the first one, because at the start of the movie, you're not really sure what Bill Skarsgård is up to this whole time. And even when he's sitting there on the ground crawling towards you, you're still not even sure.
Yeah.
So I'll go with the first one as well.
Tyra.
Definitely the first one. That movie was downhill as soon as Bill Skarsgård died. No, in the beginning, it was really, really good, really great suspense, and then they just let it all go for whatever reason. I don't know.
I don't know. Barbarian, like, why did we have to see her go on her job interview? Like, I don't know. I was just like,
That's fair.
It didn't work for me. Like, that never came into play. And then these are two that I feel like are underrated jump scares. I absolutely love the skeleton key, but this is a scene in particular where Kate Hudson is up in that attic, and all of a sudden the little doll is there. And then we have What Lies Beneath, where Michelle Pfeiffer is in the tub, and her husband Harrison Ford comes in, and he lifts her up to, like, I think it was messing with her necklace, and then once he puts her down, her face changes to the dead ghost girl. Tyra, now I know you can appreciate both of these movies, even though 2000 ain't your era.
You had Skeleton Key in The Descent. Okay. I'm gonna go with What Lies Beneath. I think What Lies Beneath is really, really underrated. It does have, that predictability to it, but it's Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison. Like, what? It's gold. It's gold. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I feel like it would still hold up. I'm gonna go with What Lies Beneath.
I do feel like no one talks about that. Like, I think she's starting to suspect something. Who? Your wife. And her little face. I love that movie. Gigi.
This one is hard because I don't remember. It's been so long since I've watched either of these that I barely even remember these scenes. But I like kind of remember the skeleton key more than What Lies Beneath, because I also do think What Lies Beneath is like an underrated one. So I don't know. I can't even pick. It's been so long since I've seen them. So maybe skeleton key.
Look, either one isn't a bad choice.
Yeah. I remember liking both of them.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Gigi. I haven't seen these movies in forever.
Yeah.
I remember not liking the skeleton key.
Brandon.
This is again like 15 years ago. I can't remember like Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. Literally saying.
Yeah. I'll give it a rewatch eventually. But I think I'm gonna go with What Lies Beneath, because it's just such a classic movie already, and it's 20 years old.
Yeah, time is flying. 24 years old.
That's crazy.
And keeping the trend going with our jump scares, we are going to talk which movie has the most underrated jump scare. And of course, like I was saying earlier when we did our verses, I feel like 7 is really underrated and doesn't get mentioned when we talk about jump scares. I also feel like The Sixth Sense doesn't get mentioned when we talk about jump scares. And I think The Sixth Sense had quite a few really good jump scares when the kid, has his little moments where he sees ghosts, in particular when he goes to the kitchen and the lady is in there cooking, or when he's in his tent and all of a sudden the sick girl is there. When he's in the car and the dead lady is next to the window. Brandon, which movie has the most underrated jump scare?
You know what? I don't know. I couldn't even.
Yeah.
I spent the most time on this question trying to think of an answer, and honestly, I couldn't come up with one. Yeah.
Well, we have 7 in The Sixth Sense, guys. They're underrated. They have great jump scares. Gigi.
I know it's hard to think of like an underrated jump scare, but I'm just going to go with what my favorite jump scare is. It's the one in Sinister, the lawnmower one. That one just freaked me out.
And I feel like, am I a sociopath? I remember seeing that for the first time, and I just was sitting there, like I was so unfazed.
Yes, you are.
But everyone mentions that lawnmower jump scare. Tyra.
I do like the jump scare in The Orphan when the lady's lying on the ground and they go to like touch her necklace and then
Oh yeah.
moves. I like that one. You had so many of them there in the slide. The Tale of Two Sisters, where she goes to pick up the what's she picking up off the ground and the hand reaches out from underneath like the cabinet, the dresser. I love that one. There's a movie from the 70s called it's called Shock or The Shock, where I sent it to you, Nikki, where the child is running up and it transitions into a man.
Oh yeah, that was a good.
I love that jump scare.
Yeah.
I like the build up to the jump scare in The Conjuring 2 when we first see the nun, and it was like, ooh, what's this? And it was just something different before they, mess it up. And it's the painting, and then the hands come out, like it's really slow.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot of build up, and then it comes at her. I did like that one. Let's see. I like the Candyman jump scare too from the cabinet, because with it, and you're saying Candyman, she's assuming that he's gonna pop up behind her, Helen. So she checks behind her and she's like, okay, nothing's there. Then she closes it and he comes through the medicine cabinet. I love that jump scare.
Those are some good ones. But yeah, that one you sent me where the little kid, that one was so good.
It was something so simple.
Yeah. It was effective though. But we're also going to get into now people, you have the horror villains that have their signature weapon. I'm not really one for a signature weapon. I like for a killer to just use whatever is at their disposal. Like just get creative and use whatever is there. But you have the signature weapon that a lot of horror villains have. Gigi, do you have any favorite signature horror weapons?
I do love chainsaws. Like I love that with, uh, the Evil Dead franchise and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But I also love when they use like a drill. I know Lola uses one in The Loved Ones. There's another horror movie where they use a drill and I cannot think of it. But that's, I guess, tools.
Gigi walking around with her tool belt.
I know.
I do feel like that. Oh God, y'all know I always talk about The Loved Ones. That mess, I would have been dead. Like I'm going to that's the thing that gets me with horror movies. I'm going to die from shock alone. Like the second the pain pierces me, like, I'm just going to die.
Yeah, kill me.
Brandon.
I think you got to go with like Freddy's glove.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. It's so unique to him. He made it himself. It's very stand out from people using just like a machete or chainsaw or
That's
just
fair.
the butcher knife. Yeah.
We have Freddy's glove. And the one time in my whole life I dressed up for Halloween, I was Freddy and I wore that glove out. I was so obsessed wearing that little glove with my fake finger knives. Tyra, do you have any favorite signature horror weapons?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely Freddy's glove. but so I can give something different from Brandon.
Mhm.
I love a good hook. I love a good machete. Okay,
Ooh, look.
Yeah.
machete gets her done. A good hook and a machete does what needs to be done. I love those situations, and I also love like the killers who they don't have a signature. They just use like they have an arsenal of things. Like I like blew my whole lid when the Terrifier pulls out a gun. I was like, oh my god, he shot her. I thought that was the best thing in the world because you're just assuming most slashers they don't use guns. You know, the joy is in the stabbing, the torture. Like when he shot her, I was like, oh, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
That was crazy, but that was unfair, baby. You losing. You can't pull out a gun now. But when you talk about that machete, you know what actually sticks out in my brain? Out of all the killers and movies that have used a machete, the thing that pops out is that little kid shaving his head to kill Jason. Talking about die with that. That took me out. Like, I don't think I want my kid playing that role because that was a little insane. So we're going to continue our 80s conversation. And of course, I do think the 80s did a lot of things right. But Tyra, what did the 80s get right that is missing from modern horror?
Why you come to me first? The 80s is fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's weird. It's campy. It's gross. It's unhinged. It can be psychological. It could be like it's just it was okay to do something stupid. It didn't take itself as serious, and you know I don't mind some serious horror, but everything is that serious, kind of pretentious. The more pretentious, the better. The more like oh we gotta we don't always have to do that. I just like how fun it is. We have that. There's practical effects. There's really great soundtracks. There are those like we were stating all those trash actors because people aren't acting, but in a lot of those you find these gems. And most of horror, that's when you find those movies that the big stars now they don't mention because that's where they got their start. But a lot of those horrors, they have really great acting performances because it's not tied to something like now where you're more so relying on a name. Yes, the movie may be good, but you couldn't rely on a name. So if your movie stood out, it's because the actors was probably a no name and they were good, and it had to be good because you couldn't afford whomever was big at the time. You just hired some random person. So if your movie was like outstanding, it was probably because the script was really, really good. I feel like people had to really push themselves. But that and some practical effects and a great soundtrack and all of the blood, guts, gore, and tits that you could ever want. I just like that you could be reckless and it was okay.
Yeah, as much as I talk about the 80s, and it's not my favorite era, but I will say for me, what the 80s gets right that we're missing in modern horror, I feel like just the identity of like these iconic killers. Like I feel like the 80s had very distinct horror villains. And like you just mentioned, Terrifier, but I really can't think of modern day villains that are like as iconic and distinct. It's like creativity was put behind, like even when we were talking about the Prowler, the whole look of that villain, the whole backstory of that villain. I feel like that's for me what's missing in modern horror.
Come on over. Okay. You don't be scared to come over. Just come over here because that's what it is. Not even that, but just those sub genres of horror. Like they were being catered to so much. There was, a zombie. You made it your zombie, your werewolf, your vampire, they were catering to different things so much. And I do understand people trying to subvert that and do something different and get away from that. But it just seems like nothing is sticking. I can't remember besides the Terrifier, anything that I've seen in the past decade that's like, oh, like that was really memorable. Nobody.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I do feel like modern horror, like how you just said, I wish it was more because you have a fan for everything, and like how you just mentioned, if you go to, and I think when I think about it, it's really just the slashers of the 80s that bothers me. But as a whole, like you said, you had werewolves, you had the slashers, you had all kind of different types. And I feel like modern horror, like when was the last time we had a werewolf horror? Like we have a
Creature
few
feature,
comedies,
like
but-
creatures, just cool
Yes.
creatures. Like you just
Yeah.
don't get that anymore.
Yeah, and I love a creature feature, and I cannot like we don't get the variety in this era. Gigi, do you think there's anything the 80s got right that's missing from today's horror?
Definitely like practical effects. That, I mean, it's just what, CGI was still in its infancy, and so it's like we can only get so much. So everything was just so realistic and impressive. And now, to kind of just be quicker, we use CGI, and it just does not have that same passion, or it's just way less impressive. So definitely practical effects. I do wish that we got that more from modern horror.
And I might be the only person on the planet that actually liked that 2011 The Thing, but I do not understand why they did not use practical effects. Like, how do you come behind a movie that's like known for using practical effects and don't do like I just cannot fathom why we did not use practical effects. It makes no sense. Brandon.
I think what the 80s got right, besides the practical effects, because they're incredible, is like creativity for coming up with the most random shit and making sure it gets on the screen. Like you got movies about killer, like it's almost like ice cream, killer tomatoes, killer cars, all kinds of stuff. And interesting new ideas for vampire movies. You got Near Dark, which is a Western vampire story, essentially. The Thing was an incredibly unique and innovative movie. And I just feel like everything nowadays is either a sequel, a reboot, or like the only good thing we got going right now is A24 because they're kind of keeping it creative, but they still don't know how to have fun, which I think is missing. It's okay to get a good campy horror movie every now and then.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of A20. But I think I do love when movies do like The Void is a modern movie that I really love that very much gave like 80s and like campy and stuff. So I do like when you kind of incorporate that in a movie in a certain way, but I agree with Brand, like the creativity. But I will also say I'm not one of those people who are like, I'm like, it's sequels and it's remake. I think every era has sequels and remakes, and every era had a lot of them. But I will say, and like I said, I just saw Oddity. I saw quite a few movies this year that were unique, that were creative, that weren't tied to an IP. I think they're out there. They're just not the mainstream box office, like top 10 movies. I think Neon is doing good stuff. I don't know what the hell Blumhouse be doing, child.
That's the issue. Like, if a Child's Play hit or a Nightmare, like you were gonna see those movies in theaters. You're not gonna see, what we gotta go search for stuff. When you go to the movies, especially if you're not like a deep-seated rooted horror fan and go search, you're only gonna see, franchise after franchise and installments. That's all that's being put in our face. So it looks sucky over here. Looks sucky. Looks real sucky.
You do have to search. And even there was a we just did KillerCon last week with black horror movies you might not have heard of, that you might have missed. And it was a black horror movie came out this year, first time black director and writer, that nobody even heard of. Is not at the theater, of course. It's not like, I feel like they're out there, they're just not the talked about top like box office.
Wait, what movie was it?
What was it called? A Dark Song, a song from the dark. It ain't very good, but I brought
didn't that come out? A Dark Song, didn't that come out last year? Isn't that
it came out here in February, but it was a African film, but it came out here in February.
Oh,
but it just feels like, I don't know, I'm just not that person. I think we have indie stuff, we have creative stuff. I didn't care for Late Night with the Devil, but that was original, that was creative. I didn't like the movie as a whole, but it wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a remake, it wasn't a reboot. But as much as certain people on the panel may love the 80s, I think there's still things that modern horror may get right that was missing from the 80s. And like I said earlier, I love like the current, even when you talk about Evil Dead 2013 over the 80s one, I like a more serious tone. I like something that's dark and I don't want to alleviate from the tension with laughter or campiness. So I feel like for me, that is what was missing with the 80s horror, particularly the slashers. Like I said, I think it's really the slashers of the 80s that can't really get down with. But I like it to feel serious. Like I like for it to feel a little grounded in reality. And when you're being really hokey, that takes me out of it for me personally. Brendan, what do you think modern horror gets right that was missing in the 80s horror?
I will say that it gives fully fleshed out characters for the most part. Like with every movie now, everybody seems to have the fleshed out, and there always seems to be a lot of like dealing with trauma or past events that are significant to the plot of the movie, which I think works quite a bit. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna go with that.
Now, Gigi, we know you like me. The 80s ain't really your cup of tea. So what is it about the modern horror for you that gets right over what 80s horror doesn't get, that doesn't work for you?
I feel like I think the acting it's just evolved. There's like a different tier of it now. Pacing, I think there are some modern horrors that just don't get it right, but I feel like a lot of 80s movies are kind of a slog to get through. So I think pacing is a lot better in modern movies. Even though I think 80s has really good soundtrack, I think that modern horror does like sound effects and like soundscapes a lot better than 80s horror movies. Yeah, probably that.
And when you talk about the sound effects, one thing we were talking about jump scares. I think the worst jump scare I've ever seen in history was damn it, what was that movie? It was a movie where they were like doing these experiments. Oh God, this is gonna bug me. They were doing these experiments. The girl who played in House is in there, who directed Don't Worry, Darling. She was in it, and they were like trying to reanimate a dead dog. And there's a jump scare where her coworker pops up with a pig mask, and you literally hear a pig sound. And I'm just like, why would you do? Like, why would you add that sound? It's
Olivia
so
Wilde?
ridiculous. Yes, Olivia Wilde. She was.
Oh,
She
was
in
it The Lazarus Effect?
Yes, the Lazarus effect.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. The Lazarus effect. They were trying to like reanimate a dead dog and stuff like that. And her coworker pops up on her
Yes.
with the pig mask. Like, why would we make the pig sound effect? Like, it just
Yeah.
was so terrible. Tyra, is there anything for you that modern horror gets right that was missing in 80s horror?
It's serious, suspenseful, and subtle. I'll give it that. A little uninspired for me, but serious, suspenseful, and subtle. There's not a ton of that in the 80s. Serious, suspenseful, and subtle.
Was definitely no subtlety.
So I'll give it that. Just
well, at least you gave us something.
I did.
And now we are going to get into our viewers' choice segment. And we have some stuff here for us. So send your versus your horror questions, $4.99 super chat for the panel. Let's see. Dane C. Now what Cruel Intentions got to do with horror, Dane C? Cruel Intention versus the in crowd. The worst kind of evil, rich, young white people. Also, Nikki, you missed my previous super chat. I didn't miss it, babe. I was just holding it for the end. This isn't horror, but I've never seen the in crowd. I love Cruel Intentions. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. Icon from Buffy alone, but I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. So I've never seen the in crowd though.
Me neither.
Tyra, Have you seen
I've
the In
seen,
Crowd?
yes, I have, and I'm gonna go with Cruel Intentions. That's classic. The in crowd is decent enough, but Cruel Intentions over the in crowd every time. Both evil, right? Which people though?
Gigi, have you seen the In Crowd and Cruel Intentions?
No, I don't even know what the in crowd is, but I love Cruel Intentions. So I don't know if it's a, yeah. So I have to go with that.
Brendan?
Is Cruel Intentions the one with Ryan Phillippe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely shut that movie halfway off, halfway watching it. I did not like it, and I've never heard of the In Crowd either.
It's
Yeah.
forgettable.
So I'm gonna pass on either of both of them. Actually,
Yeah. You're like, no.
no, I won't put a name to one of those movies.
You know what's a good evil white people, since that's what he put out. There's a movie that I never hear anyone talk about called Gossip from the early 2000s, where these college students for an assignment spread a rumor that this girl was essayed by someone, and it really didn't happen. That movie is so good.
Oh, this has James Marsden in it.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. It's been a long time, but yeah, I was like, wait, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's really good. We have Norman Reedus, Lena Headey. It's really like, man, like messing with people and rumors and
Yeah.
Shout out to Kay, 80s horror above all.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you so much, Kay.
D, movie man, let's go. Quick question: what horror film has a scene or an example of a real life fear of yours? Mine is claustrophobia in The Descent. A movie with a real life. My real life fear is the ocean. I am deadly afraid of the ocean. Like literally, like just lose my bearings, can't breathe, can't think. I feel like if I'm on the beach, it's fine, but middle of the ocean, I feel like looking out the ocean is so vast. The ocean is so deep. There's no telling what's under there. So I mean, there's a ton of movies that explore the ocean and deep sea. I think my favorite recent one would be the one with Kristen Stewart, where they're underwater in that little
Underwater.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite recent one, because that's literally my fear, is that there are literally just creatures underwater that we have no idea are down there. And I think, if I remember correctly, did anybody else see Will Smith did this like documentary exploring the ocean a few years ago? Was I the only person?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. And that's the thing. They tell us that space has been more explored than deep ocean. So I just feel like this is so scary to me. What could be down there? Tyra, do you want to tackle this question?
I mean, I ain't really scared of nothing.
Tyra the triple double OG. Tyra thug life. I mean, scared of nothing.
I guess it would be like abduction. Don't take me. I don't want that.
Like alien or human?
Oh no, I'm not going over there. Human. Human abduction, like The Stranger, like even though I wouldn't be in this situation, like a Wolf's Creek type situation.
Yeah,
like,
that's just scary.
I don't want that. Like, leave me alone. Like those Wolf Creek, Last House on the Left type grapey situations. I don't want that. So yeah, don't talk to strangers.
Gigi.
I'm this. Well, I mean, honestly, both. But I'm with you too, Nikki. I hate like deep ocean. So the thought of like I won't go on a cruise for those like reasons and stuff like that freaks me out. So the movie that freaked me out, like gave me so much tension, which is so silly, is 47 Meters Down. I was like, and also drowning sounds like the absolute worst way to die. So like them being underwater with all these sharks and like almost drown, I was like, nah, that would never happen to me because I wouldn't be in the ocean diving with sharks. But that scared me.
Yeah, drowning is my literal worst nightmare. And actually, I can't swim. And I love to get in the pool though. And I love to dive into the pool. So I used to do this thing with my little sister when I was like 20 and she was maybe 10. I would say, get into the deep end. I'm going to dive in. And you just carry me to the edge. But I dived in far away from her and I was literally drowning. It was so insane. That is literally my like drowning. Oh my god! No.
Yeah.
Brandon.
I have even though I work in construction and I work on tall buildings, I have a fear of heights. So
Ooh.
the movie Fall,
Oh god, I
Mm.
just watched that too.
so much anxiety. Like I'd me and my wife had to pause the movie and take like a little bit of a break and then come
Yeah.
back to it because it was just
Who
it's
would
so
do
well
that?
shot. I don't know who has these like crazy adrenaline seekers,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
it's not me.
No. Yeah. And then to like not tell anybody that I'm like, what? you're going the most dangerous thing. They're like, weed and tell a soul. We were up here.
but I feel like, am I the only person that like I gravitate to movies that feel like that? Like I love to like feel anxious and like
Yeah.
on the edge and have my nerves tore up when I'm watching something.
Yes. I'm the same way.
Thank you so much for the support, D Movie Man. Dane C, don't listen to her, Tyra. She said trap was fire.
Thank you so much, Dane. I never do.
Validated.
Listen to your elders, okay? Um, KD, I'm here on time after you cursed me out about blaming notifications on why I missed. I wasn't born in the 80s, but love the topic. Thank you so much, KD. Yeah, me and my subs, we had to get together earlier this week. Thank you so much for the support. Dane C, what horror movies came out in the 2010s? You want us to name every horror movie that came out?
I know.
He's just acting like, I guess he's asking like what like good ones came out in 2010.
Oh, I feel like there's
A ton.
yeah. Let's see.
I gotta look it up.
Halloween
The good
2018, you
stuff
got
come
Get
out.
Out,
The Cabin in the Woods,
Cabin in the Woods.
The
Lights
Witch,
Out.
like yeah, Lights Out.
Oh no,
Ready
it
or
talked
Not.
about Brightburn. Brightburn was good. I like that.
I liked it. Everyone hated it, but I loved it.
I like Brightburn. I thought it was a cool idea to have like this evil version of a superhero.
I thought so too. Oh, Autopsy of Jane Doe. I love Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
There's one not a lot of I haven't heard people talk about with Alexander Skarsgård called Hidden. When I tell you this movie gave me the worst anxiety of any movie I ever saw in my life. The movie is fine, like it's good, but the thing that really got me is you have no idea what the creature or threat is. Like those movies that don't reveal or show you.
Yeah.
And my heart was dying. I was like, what is it? What is it? Like I was going crazy. But I never anyone
Haven't
talked about that
watched.
movie. But
No.
there's tons of great. Maybe we'll have to do the tens. For one
Yeah.
killer con. Let me see. Oh, Bone Tomahawk. I talked about that. It's very, 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 very slow. It's very slow. But them last 10 minutes is insanity. The Conjuring was 2013. The 2010s was a great era. It was a great era.
Mhm.
Chauncey Vision, horror versus battle of the grotesque mad scientist. Seth Grundle of The Fly versus Dr. Pretorius of From Beyond. Happy birthday, Tyra.
Thank you, Chauncey Vision.
You want to go first, Tyra?
Sure. Grotesque, because the doctor in the From Beyond is just really disgusting to look at. I mean, at least Jeff is fine for a little while.
Yeah.
Makes that full blown transition. But I don't know. I'm gonna go with Seth Grundle because it's like slow. At least with the doctor in From Beyond, he's like gross immediately. With Seth, you have to like watch him slowly disintegrate in the nails and the teeth and the throwing up. Yeah, I'm gonna go with The Fly.
And see, I would go with the I don't know. That's hard because I love anything disgusting, and I feel like that's what really takes it home with The Fly. Like you said, the nails falling out and like watching, and I feel like they added a little emotional connection for the audience. Like you feel for him as this is happening. And I love gore and grotesque, but I do like the type of horror that like gets an emotional response that makes you feel something. Putting the love story, having you actually feel for Jeff Goldblum. I think that's hard. Gigi.
Oh, Seth Grundle, that was just, I mean, grotesque, like disgusting. Like, yeah, we see the slow descent, and it's like, so you see it like little by little, and it's getting like grosser and grosser, and just the vomit thing, that part, like I actually was like, no, not for
Gigi,
Yeah,
me.
didn't we
have
see
you
him like
seen
vomit
From
on food
Beyond,
or something?
Gigi?
No, I've just seen the
Because
guy.
From Beyond is disgusting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. From
See, and I don't even
Beyond.
really like grotesque stuff, so I'm actually surprised I even liked The Fly, but I think it's just because in the beginning he's like Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, and that's another 80s one that I don't think we talked
Yeah, The
about. From
Fly.
Beyond. Oh, okay.
Yeah, From Beyond and Live. Like I don't think it's get talked about enough.
Oh yes, medicine cabinet
Brandon.
collection of body parts.
I'm gonna go with The Fly. I think he's you guys have said, he's a great character. It's a tragedy to watch him slowly go through his painful transformation. He's fun. He's quirky. Love a good young older Jeff Goldblum.
Younger, older.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Still sick over here.
Black Captain America, Howling 1 and 2 are definitely cult classics. I grew up obsessed with the Howling. Okay, I mean obsessed. Like those were my movies. I need to revisit the second one. I haven't seen either one in ages, and I did revisit the Howling either earlier this year or late last year. And it still held up. I need to revisit that second one though. But yeah, definitely classics for me. Tyra, we know you love the Howling. It's the 80s, werewolves.
Yep.
Gigi, have you seen Howling 1 and 2?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
No, 'cause I'm not-
Earlier you did say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you don't like werewolves.
Yeah, I'm not a big werewolf person.
I love werewolves. I will watch anything werewolf. There's one movie where these people are on a train and it breaks down and they're getting killed off by werewolves. I just love werewolves. Brandon, do you like Howling 1 and 2?
I've only seen the first one, and it was so long ago, and I honestly don't remember liking it that much.
Okay.
But I know everybody has been going on about it, and I'd like to pick it up and check it out again, and watch the second one as well. I'll check them out. I won't go past that because I know there's like 10 of them,
Oh God.
but I'll watch like maybe the first trilogy.
Is it the second
Dane-
one with the black man on the skates? Is that the second one?
I can't remember.
Well, whichever one. When the black man got on the skates, he got kind of okay.
Well, yeah, he wasn't. Well, it must be the second one because he wasn't in that first one.
Mm.
I don't think it was any black people in the first Howling. Dane C. Oh wait, I already read that. Sorry. Miss Lisa, why the outrage with the kid having the alien bust from the chest, but teenagers being slashed for decades is okay? I said go back to insinuations. The chest burst she's talking about is this is my mother. Thank you, mother, for the $5. Alien Requiem. I was completely outraged when the movie opens and the father and son is camping and they get the chest bursters and the thing comes through the kid's chest. I just feel like kill teenagers, don't kill a kid. Like I don't know, like
Kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kids. So
it's just an innocent. Like why he couldn't be hunting with his teenage son? Like that's a cruel death. The chest burster.
that means we mean business. We killed a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I agree. That's when you know you're like, oh, there's no holds barred now. They killed a kid.
It just feels so evil. But thank you, mother. But go back to insinuations. Yeah, I feel like it depends. I feel like I rather stomach you insinuating a kid was killed as opposed to showing it. But I do agree to an extent that certain movies it does feel like okay, it's real stakes now. Like that scene in Dr. Sleep where they're killing the baseball boy, even though you kind of don't really like actually see something graphic, it's so disturbing. So yeah, I guess it's a toss up, but AVP pissed me off doing that to that.
Oh, I feel like Terrifier 3, they're gonna be like, let's see how many kids we can kill. Like I feel like that's the vibe that they're giving off.
And you know what? I think the opposite. I think that little teaser where the kid comes down, I think that's probably not even in the movie. Like I really believe they're not going to do it. I feel like they wanted to do that for publicity to like rile people up. But hey, I could be wrong because that franchise goes crazy.
Yeah.
But I think they just wanted to get fans talking about the new movie. But I do not see him ripping the skin off and pouring bleach all over a little 8-year-old. Like, I mean, I don't see it.
I'm excited. I get to see it next month, so I'll let you know.
Well, I'm excited. Hidden is on my watch list. Sam, please watch it. It's so okay. It's good, but what made it so amazing for me was just the suspense of not knowing and being able to see the threat. Like, that put me on edge when they would have certain scenes. I would just be like, you know how you're watching something, you're like, well, move it. Like, we want to see, like, what is it? Like that anticipation.
Like that tension.
Oh, it was killing me so bad. But thank you so much to everyone who showed up to support us today. And I am going to give each panelist the floor so you can tell the people where they can find you, how to keep up with you, and what content you have coming up. I am going to start with Gigi, Room for Scream. Tell the people where they can find you and everything you have coming up.
Yeah. Hello. Thanks for having me. I am Gigi. My usernames are Room for Scream. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I also have a podcast called Dark Screen Society where we have themed episodes. We have an episode coming out on Monday where we talk about horror TV shows. Yeah, I think those are all my platforms. Oh, I'm also on Twitter, X. That's me.
No, we only call it Twitter. We're not calling it
I
X.
know. Somebody called it X to me the other day. They were like, "Oh, do you have X?" And I was like, "Who says that?"
Right. So, I still say Twitter.
Yeah.
Brandon, one half of Our Life in Horror. Tell the people where they can find you and what you guys have coming up next.
Hi guys, I'm Brendan, and I'm one half of Our Life in Horror. You guys can find us on YouTube, Instagram, X. What do we got going on? On Tuesday, we are doing a live at 6 or 7 with that horror couple. We will be discussing our top 10 favorite 80s movies.
Cool.
And y'all, we gotta champion Sam because we need her to come on. I like to have a 4-person panel. It just makes it easier. So that's why we have one half. So y'all tell Sam to come on up here. Okay, we don't bite sometimes, a lot, very hard. Tyra, tell the people where they can find you and what you have coming up.
We always got a lot of stuff coming up. Tomorrow will be the finale for Lady in the Lake, and the director and creator behind the show, she will be joining us to talk about whatever questions we have for her. So that's exciting. Monday, I will be discussing Why Did I Get Married? And I will also be on Sledgehammer Horse channel discussing what movie got me into horror in the first place. So it's a little double whammy for Monday. On Tuesdays, we talk vampires. We are currently on episode 6 of season 1 of Interview with the Vampires. So be on the lookout for all 3 of those things coming out next. We are literally here every single day. Be posted.
Yeah, Tyra be working. She be going live, putting out content every single solitary day. Miriam, thank you so much for the super chat. Cussing your subs out worked. Let's do it every Monday night. I guess my subs are masochists. They like a little pain. I got to get a little rough with them. Okay. But thank you guys so much for showing up and supporting us. Remember, we are here every single Saturday, 5 p.m. Central, giving you horror content, giving you all kinds of horror recommendations, underknown, lesser known, underrated. So if you need something for the watch list, we always got you, and having great conversations as well. Thank you so much to our panelists. And if you guys can stay backstage and everyone else, we will see you next Saturday.
Goodbye.